Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for coming to the Rap Star Boxing World. And today we have a special guest. I'd like to, and first of all, before we introduce the guest, I want to thank him himself. And it's a pleasure to have the man himself who's been in the boxing business for more than some of you people have been born. It's the man himself who actually don't need no introduction if you know boxing. But it's Rick Glaser. And how you doing there today, sir, Rick Glaser?
Good. Thanks for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to talk to all the UK boxing enthusiasts. It's fantastic to do so tonight.
Well, we have fans which come from all over the world. We have people from Australia, Ireland, England,
Well,
even a lot of people from America, Mexico. So, this channel covers, everywhere and anywhere, as you know what YouTube is.
that's fantastic. The more, the merrier.
Well, Rick, I'm going to say a lot of people who don't know you, can you please tell the people what you do in boxing, how you actually got into boxing, and, how did this transpire with you and boxing?
Well, I started out I started out in '91 in boxing, but how I got into boxing was that I had gotten indicted by the federal government for racketeering, got indicted for loan sharking, extortion, gambling, odometer rollbacks on used cars. I was like a one-man crime wave. And when I got indicted, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office erred in my case, and we ended up getting a plea deal and got 5 years probation and a $50,000 fine. Well, what happened was the lady from the probation officer, she kept jerking me around and making me go down 3 times a week and urinate in the bottle, and I had no history of drug or alcohol use. So we went back to the judge and we complained, and the judge said, listen, you've been robbing the community long enough, and it's time for you to give back to the community. Go do something for the community, and I'll give you, only got to go once a month. Okay, so I went down to the local PAL, which is a police athletic league boxing gym, where all the kids are, all the youths are in the community. And I started taking them to the Golden Gloves and to the amateur fights in the region, a little bit downstate. And one thing led to the next, and a couple of kids wanted to turn pro, and I got in boxing. It was 91. So there you go. That's how I got boss. And I've been in boxing full time 31 years now.
Well, if you guys have heard that, Rick Glaser has been in boxing for over 31 years, and that's probably more than some of the people which are here, viewing this content right now.
Right. What I do
Rick,
in boxing, is I'm an international agent, broker, and consultant, and I broker deals between promoters, TV networks, fighters, just everything that requires negotiations and any deep thinking. I'm involved with in a lot of deals throughout the world every day.
That's amazing. So, look, what I really want to define it so people get confused. You are not a promoter. You are an
Nope.
advisor and a broker. Is that correct?
Right.
Or you a
The
promoter?
agent, broker, and advisor. That's correct. Mm-hmm.
So, do you work with promoters? Is that
Yeah,
your?
I work with promoters, managers, fighters, TV networks. I even work with trainers. I bring fighters to trainers when a fighter needs a new trainer because he's not improving with his present trainer. I look at the kid's style and who can improve them, and I make all those arrangements and stuff like that. I just do everything it requires the boxing part and negotiations, and that's what I do every day.
Right. So we got to know, I've done a bit of research on you. I feel that you have had a great relationship with some of the greatest promoters in the world. How was the
Well,
relationship between you and Don King?
it was excellent. I was Don and I started working together in 2003 to 2016, and we had a great relationship over those 13 years. Then I developed cancer where I couldn't travel, and I was taking cancer treatments, chemo, for 32 months. And by the time I came back from the cancer, Don was like semi-retired, and we're still friends, and we talk, 3, 4 times a week on the phone, and we still have a great relationship. If he needs me for anything, he knows I'm there for him. But the official relationship was between 2003 to 2016, and it worked out very well for both of us.
Right, I want to ask this question for the fans. A lot of people feel that Don King ripped off a lot of his fighters. Some people, they have a story, and there's a lot of myths out there that Don King robbed Mike Tyson. Could you elaborate on that? Is that true? Is Don King
Well,
actually robbed
let me
his fighters, or is it a myth?
let me explain what the myth of the situation is, the reality of it was, and the end result was. So Don King and Mike Tyson handled $1 billion, $1 billion together. Okay. And when it was determined that Mike Tyson sued him, Mike Tyson sued for some crazy figure of $150 million that he said he was robbed out of. Well, when everybody did the accounting, everybody agreed that that figure was wrong. The figure was really 14 million was missing. Okay. And if you handle $1 billion and there's 14 million missing, that's 0.00014. Okay. It's a very small amount of money. Now, 14 million to you and me sounds like a lot, and it is. Okay. But when you're handling $1 billion, it's not a lot. And what
Isn't that 0.14%?
No, it's 0.0014.
It's 0.0014%.
Right. Mm-hmm. But the point is that when they came up with it, it was actually 14 million, and both sides agreed to 14 million. So Don just paid him. It was simple. It was 14 million. Don just paid him. What really happened was there was no robbery. Mike was grabbing 200,000 here for some girl or some woman. I got to send her money. I promised her this. I promised that. I told her I'd start a business for her. All this kind of stuff. And like when he went to the Versace shop, when he first got out of prison, he spent 250,000 there. Don fronted the money, and he has to pay these things back. Well, in the meantime, the other problem was that Don had more employees that were associated with Mike Tyson to have Mike Tyson. He had a president of his fan club had to get paid to return all the letters and the photos that people asked for, all the mailings, and all these things that were associated with Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson wanted a New York City presence for Don King Productions and himself. Don had to go get a townhouse in New York. Okay, he had to keep renting a townhouse in New York. So there was a lot of additional expenses. Well, not because they were so close, they were like father and son, supposedly. None of this was in writing. So was it missing? It wasn't really missing. It was just unaccounted for in reality.
So really and truly, for what you've seen and the relationships you've had with Don King, basically it's just been a lot of can I say overhyped talk which never
Well,
existed,
yeah, about Mike
conspiracy
Tyson.
theories.
Well, about Mike Tyson, it was definitely. But let me explain to you what happens with Don King. Okay, I'm going to give you an idea what happens with Don King. And I think that if I explain this properly, everybody will understand this. So what Don does is Don threatens you with cash. Okay, so what he does is, let's just say you want $1,750,000 for a fight, and Don wants to pay him $1,500,000, no more, because he's trying to get you down on the price that you want to fight. So what Don will say to him was, Don will say, listen, you sign this contract for 1.5 million, and I'll give you a check right now, and I'll have this employee over here, Teddy, take you up to the bank and cash that check, and you can go home with $500,000. Okay, now, or you just say, I just give you a check and you go home and deposit in your bank account. But whatever you want to do, he threatens him with cash. Here's the problem with that. The problem with that is that everybody needs to get paid off that 1.5 million. So if you owe 40% to your trainers, managers, and handlers, let's just say you owe 40%. Okay, that 40% comes off the 1.5 million, not off the million. So in the meantime, is what you got is you got a big mess, because now the kid owes another $200,000 on the 500 that he already took. So now he's got to pay back $600,000. Don already gave him $1 million. Okay, so now there's 600 off $1 million. The kid only ends up at 400,000. The kid feels like he was robbed. Okay, and this is a problem. They don't think they have to pay back these advances. These advances that they get, and that's part of the problem. Well, the kid thinks he's supposed to get 900,000. No, he already took 500. Now he's still got to pay his WBC sanction fee, WBF, IBF, WBO, whatever the sanction fee is, 3%. Okay, and it's an endless battle. I told Don when I went to work with him to cut that shit out. Okay, don't do that. It's just causing confusion. It's getting the managers in fights with the manager and trainers in fights with the fighters, because now the fighter wants to pay him out $1 million, not the $1.5 million. So now everybody internally is fighting. So I said, you got to stop this shit, and he did. To Don's credit, I mean, he would give people advances, but he'd give them like 50,000 or 100,000. He wouldn't give them some wacky figure. Don't forget, if you were talking about a $3 million fight, everything's relative. He's giving them 2.5. He was giving them $2.5 million up front, so everything's relative. So after that, he started giving people, the bigger fighters like the million, happy, give them 50,000 or 75,000, even 100, maybe once or twice. But that's how he was doing. He was getting himself in trouble, and it was causing him to get a bad reputation. Now the Tim Witherspoon lawsuit, everybody wants to go to that to talk about that, because Tim's well known over in England. There was that fight was canceled postponed 4 times. There was training camp expenses. Tim kept taking advances, and it whittled it down to $91,000. I believe the figure was. I mean, they talk about robberies. It's that you get what you bargain for, and you get the money because it's on a contract that the state gives you. Each state over here is a boxing commission, and every state is you have to pay them what's on that contract, the fighter. So it's not robbery. It's basically you're doing. It's the very, very, very educated doing business with the very, very uneducated, and somehow they manage to make a deal. And that common denominator is money, and that's the big problem. Is that people don't understand who's supposed to get what. And now they take that 500,000 off the top. Well, they think they're supposed to give the fighter, the managers, and the trainers 400,000. No, you still owe them another 200,000. So that's how it works. So that's part of the reason why they think they got robbed.
So would it be fair to say that the stories that we've heard, that Don King used to send gangsters to boxers' houses, and
No,
Don
that's all
King used
bullshit.
to,
It's all no,
that was all bullshit.
yeah, complete. Listen. I was not Don and I were not on good terms before we sat down and worked things out. He didn't like me. I didn't like him. But believe me when I tell you, those things never existed. That's all bullshit. Complete bullshit. Don always showed up himself with a briefcase full of money. So, Don's he's a great hustler, let me tell you. And I mean that in a good sense, not in a street sense, but he's a good hustler. He knows how to talk to people. He's got he's got the gift of gab, and he's a great thinker, and he's a great psychologist, and he gets what he wants.
So you heard it there yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. There's no one who got the first insight with Don King than Rick Glaser. So when you hear these stories of Don King extortioning his fighters, gangsters are working for Don King, it seems to be a myth.
Well,
and it seems to be some kind of bullshit.
The gangster part is bullshit. What he will extort them in the sense that, to tell you what he does, he used to do, of course, years ago, not in many years, but what he was doing was he would have a WBA champion, and he basically, Larry Holmes was the champ, the WBC, but they had all those WBA champs like a rotating door, and they kept getting beat. And what he was doing was he wanted to get them beat because he couldn't pay them more, and they had increases in their purses every time they fought. So he wanted to get them beat because he couldn't pay those exorbitant purses because they weren't popular fighters. The Witherspoons, the Greg Pages, all those. Greg, let's see, Tony Tubbs, all those guys were not popular, so he couldn't pay him those purses. So what he would do is he'd tell the challenger, "Oh, you're going to fight on such and such a date. Don't tell anyone. Just start training." And he'd give the champion a month notice, and he was doing it intentionally to get a beat. That's that's an example of what he was doing. So there's so many tricks to boxing that are legitimate tricks. They're not illegal, but there's things you got to know that these guys do.
Well, thanks for that insight with Don King, because there's a lot of people, and especially the casuals, Rick. The casuals don't know shit about boxing, bro. And, they send these stories out there consistently. And, hearing from you, you worked with Don King. So Don King seems to be a much more fairer man than what the people and the,
No, no,
people.
I wouldn't. Excuse me for interrupting you.
Yeah,
I wouldn't call it fair. I would just say he's not the crook that people make him out to be. He is. Don't get me wrong. His contracts are one. So don't get me wrong. His contracts are one-sided. He's a very shrewd, tough businessman. Don't get me wrong. But if you bargain for X, you're getting X. That's all there is to it.
gotcha. Now, I want to ask you, you've worked with many promoters. Let's go to my side of the pond. I've heard you work with Frank Warren Promotions, and he's had some really good things to say about you in certain articles. Have you worked with Frank Warren?
Yeah, yeah, a little bit. It was supposed to be bigger than it was. What it turned out to be. I was supposed to be their international matchmaker, like their international agent, matchmaker, but it didn't turn out that way because the son didn't want me around. And you know what? I have to. I'm not going to buck City Hall. That's his son, and I still do a little business with them here and there when called upon, but it's not something that I fancy. You know what I mean? I like Frank a lot. He's legendary. He's a great guy. He's the ultimate survivor of boxing. He's a great promoter. He's a great boxing guy. Really knows the science of the game, understands all the nuances. But that second generation is never the same, and that's the way the cookie crumbles. I'm a big boy. It didn't affect me. I didn't miss a meal. And he was just another could have been another great accountant for me, but it didn't turn out to be what it was. And I moved on. Remember something. I have my own business, glazerboxing.com, and I consider they everybody be clients of mine. So if I lose a account, I'm not exactly hurt because I've got so many accounts. So I can be fussy who I take on and who I don't take on. Being in the business as long as I have, and I'm not bragging, but I am to a certain extent in demand.
So you heard that yourself. Rick Glazer told you guys that if you want to be in boxing, he's the man to contact. Now, can I say this though, Rick? We have a
Sure.
promoter who's young and brush, and he seems to be
Yep.
making a lot of noise. And his
Hmm.
name is Eddie Hearn, the son of Barry Hearn.
Yep.
And Eddie Hearn has impacted the sport of boxing to another level. Now, what do you think about Eddie Hearn, a young guy coming into the sport who's trying to, capture the American market? Now, one thing
Uh,
we will say, he hasn't been successful in the American market as of yet, but he's very persistent. And what do you think about Eddie Hearn?
I think he's a great promoter in the UK. Okay, I like his personality. I think he's got a lot of charisma, and I think he's been a great promoter in the UK. But that has not transitioned and transformed into the American market at all, like zero. And I think that he's got Frank Smith around him, which is good for the UK. That's his main go-to guy. But he doesn't really have a good base in the United States, and it's a completely different market here. And he's got a lot of rummy fighters that can't draw 5 people over here, and it's a reflection on what the product he's putting on, and it's not good. Let's put it that way to you, not good at all.
Yeah, I got one of my subscribers. His name is K Savoy. He's a hardcore boxing fan. He goes, "Mr. Rick Glaser, salute to you," and he really appreciates what you do. He's in the chat right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, so just like you said, the American market is not for everyone. And
No.
I'm going to say this now. One of Eddie's main competitors, and it seems like Eddie Hearn has been vocal, that a man called Al Haymon is a man he's not happy with. But it seems like a lot of people in boxing are not happy with a man called Al Haymon. Now, why I say man called Al Haymon, you never see him talk. You never see him come up to any boxing interviews. You don't see him represent any boxer.
He doesn't even go to the fighter. He doesn't even go to the fights.
I know, but people think he's a ghost, and some people think he doesn't exist. But we know Al Haymon is in the boxing business. Now, what we're hearing, and this is just what we're hearing, is that he either does some dodgy business, or Al Haymon is a boxing model that doesn't work for the fans today, because I speak to a lot of American fans, Rick, and I've got emails coming out my arse, and I can send them to you. And they always say, Rapstar, we're done with the PBC model. We love what DAZN is doing, and we love what Bob Arum, ESPN Plus is doing. But as far as Al Haymon, not just the promoters, but the fans are not happy with PBC. They've been charging for pay-per-view fights, Rick. And let me just explain this. I love Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman just lost. And the guy he's fighting got knocked out. And 2 losers are selling a pay-per-view, and some of these fans in America are done with this pay-per-view. What do you think about that conversation?
Well, the one thing you missed on that conversation, that Keith Thurman hasn't fought in almost 3 years. So he's also been greatly inactive. I think that the pay-per-view model is horrible today. It should only be used for fights of big nature like Wilder and Fury, and the Canelo fights and stuff like that. These regular fights, they should not be anywhere near pay-per-view. And I think it's bad. I think it's bad for boxing, and I think they've got to stop with pay-per-view. It's just it's a horrible business model. It's killing boxing. It's killing the fans off, and we just can't do that. It's just it's like the promoters are trying to. It's like Al Haymon's trying to kill boxing. I have an expression that I use on a regular basis. It's called crimes against boxing. And Al Haymon commits crimes against boxing by putting this garbage on pay-per-view when it doesn't warrant pay-per-view. And that's basically what, it's a huge complaint over here by the fans. It's a complaint by people in the business. Now, you think that guys like Bob Arum would want the Haymon to put these fights on pay-per-view so he can fail. But here's the problem. It runs the networks out of business because they don't want to invest in more money in boxing because they keep losing money with Haymon. Haymon had a whole bunch of TV networks, okay, and he lost every one of them but Showtime and Fox. He lost every other one of them. He had 7 of them at one time. They lose money with Al Haymon, and he has a very, very poor business model. Number one. The company's in debt almost $1 billion. Okay.
Pardon? Could you say that again, please?
It's in debt almost $1 billion. Through to White L. Reed. You have to go to they call the SEC federal filings over here. Every quarter they have to do this federal filing. And to make a long story short, on the federal filing, they owe almost $1 billion, not 900 some odd $1 million that they owe, and they're in trouble. Okay, and the figures don't lie. Figures don't lie, and they're probably going to lose not Showtime, the Fox deal after this year. And Heyman's desperate to keep them in business. Showtime, Fox, and he's trying to go this pay-per-view model, and it's just not working. I mean, it's that simple. It's just not working. And
yeah, but how can they sell 60,000 pay-per-views, right? And where does the money come from for the fighters like this? Like, where does this money come from? If they're not selling pay-per-views, where is the money coming from for boxing from Al Haymon PBC?
That's the big mystery. Nobody knows.
Why does nobody know?
I don't know. Nobody. I don't know where it's coming from unless Fox is fronting the money. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a big mystery over here. I mean, to say the least, it's a big mystery, and it's a very ugly situation because these fights do not warrant pay-per-view, and then they're gonna blow Al Haymon out, but they're not gonna want to do business with other promoters after that because they were losing money. And that's the sad part about this whole thing. And it is sad. Now, he ran off a whole bunch of other networks that don't want to hear about boxing anymore. I think 4 of them to be exact. And NBC don't want to hear about boxing. Spike doesn't want to hear about boxing. Then there was one called Bounce. And I'm trying to think what the 4th one was that don't want to hear about boxing because they all lost money with Al Haymon. And the ratings were really bad and everything else.
Wow. So the mystery really is a mystery.
Yeah, listen, the guy's a Harvard business graduate, Harvard business graduate. Don't get me wrong. He's an intelligent guy, but he has all yes men around him. Nobody to tell him he's doing wrong because they're all afraid of him. And the results show. I mean, the fights are horrible. Their pay-per-views don't do well, especially the lower budget ones or the ones that shouldn't be pay-per-view. And even the ones that should be pay-per-view don't do that well because there's so much piracy. So, I mean, it's a bad business model today.
So, Rick, I hope you know, on Rapstar Boxing Knowledge, we're very uncut. We ask the toughest questions and we don't hold back. But knowing that who you are and your personality, it seems like we will gel well on this interview because I have some tough questions coming up in a second. And
fire away.
Okay, and that's it, And we're Free Smoke channel, so we will ask those questions. But we've got a great guest in the back as well. His name is Punch Drunk Boxing. He comes from New York. Do you come from New York?
Yes, I come from the other end of the state. He's from New York City,
he works
probably.
in the boxing business. He works in the boxing business. He's there 7 days a week. I'm gonna let him ask you a couple of questions, but Rick, I'm coming back for some of the big questions of 2022. What everybody's talking about.
Let's go, Ricky Rick, rap star.
Okay, fire away. What's your name?
Punch Drunk Boxing.
Mr. Moonshine. Mr. Moonshine. Yes, sir, man. How you doing?
How are you, buddy? Good. How you doing? Good.
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Rap star, how you doing?
Hey, Punch, I gotta tell you, Rick Glaser works 24/7 on the spot, a bit like you and me. Yo, when I spoke to Rick, Punch, he said, if you've got something to say, you got something to do, we work all the time. And this man's ready for all the questions. Fire away, Punch.
Rick is firing on all cylinders, man. You becoming a very famous man around the YTBC, the YouTube boxing community, the Twitter community. You on the expose marathon right now.
I think that's more by accident. I think than intention. What happened was when I teamed up for Freeway Rick Ross, we hired a publicist, and he's been sending out these press releases. And what's been happening is when Freeway and I are going on together, or they get the opportunity, then they see me on and they see how I talk about boxing, how free I am, and how I tell it like it is. So then they want me on separately.
Yeah.
So that's got a lot to do with it,
Oh.
But you haven't had me on your show, you rat bastard.
Nah, man, I've been waiting for you. I've been waiting on you. I see you doing other shows, and that's all good,
Yeah.
I mean, whenever you ready, but we here right now,
Moonshine, I'm ready when you are. I think I like the stuff that you put up. And it's just the way it is. So, I'm ready for your show when you are.
All right, now for sure. But so how is it now? I mean, you are like this love it or hate it type of character right now. I'm not no disrespect as character, but you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Like, if you like Rick, you like Rick. If you hate Rick, you hate Rick.
My
right?
wife had the great line. You ready? She says it's like the Mason-Dixon line. They either love you. They're on one side they love you, the other one side they hate you. There's nobody straddling that line.
Facts. That's that. Hey, shout out to the wife.
Yeah.
So what do you feel like in the boxing community? I believe that the boxing community is a very small community, even though there's a worldwide type of sport.
Let me define that a little more.
Okay.
There's two different boxing communities. Okay. One is not even a community. It's just people that watch boxing. The boxing community, as you and I know it, are the people that are on social media talking about boxing and on podcasts and calling in and being on podcasts and all that kind of stuff. So there's two different, totally. One's a complete casual, one a hardcore, and the hardcores participate in, the internet, in social media, boxing. Is what it is. That's what the YouTube community is. The YTC YTC community.
YTBC.
That's great. Yeah. That's great. I think it's really good. I think it's a way for people to stay in touch, talk about boxing, because if you pick up the newspaper, they don't want shit about boxing. Because everybody's into the ball and stick sports, because you got to really have a real boxing writer, and they don't want to pay a guy $150,000 a year. So that's just the way it works.
Facts. I always tell the people that there's boxing in the surface, and then there's boxing. I'm talking about the business side, the surface and behind the scenes. What's on the surface is not what really is. What's really going on. I asked the president of the WBO. I asked him. I was talking to him during the Cambosa and Teofimo Lopez media week, and I said, you consider Teofimo Lopez undisputed because you don't your belt federation don't recognize him, and he goes, of course he's undisputed, but it's none of your business. It's none of the fans' business. He said, the business is boxing. It's none of the fans' business.
Yeah, well, you talked to Paco Barcasol, the WBO president.
Yeah, the business of boxing is not is none of the fans' business. Is that a accurate statement?
No. I'm not going to downplay what Paco said, because 99% of the people feel like that. 99.9%. I'm just different. To me, the word fans should be associated with the NFL, Major League Baseball, and basketball and hockey, because you watch for free on TV. I call boxing fans boxing enthusiasts, because you have to pay for it, and I think the word fan degrades them. I think they should be called boxing enthusiasts, and I believe that they're spending their hard-earned money, and they have a right to know what's going on.
Okay.
Where the other sports, they're not really spending their heart; they're just watching on TV. It's free. Now, if you went to the fight, I went to the sporting event, and you bought merchandise, it's different. But I'm talking about for the viewer at home, and I believe the fans have a right to know what's going on, what they're watching, and why they're watching what they're watching. In other words, why that fight is on TV, or shouldn't it be on TV? Should it be on pay-per-view? It shouldn't be a main event. It should be, whatever the situation is. I believe the fans have a right to know. What Paco said laminates with 99.9% of the people in this business. I just happen to be different in that area, and I believe the fans have a right to know.
Okay. But if it's 99% how you say it, is just the way that everybody does business. Like, the fans don't dictate the next move of what the promoter's going to do next, what the elite, the high invested fighters, what everybody want to see Earl Spence and Bud Crawford, but the fans don't dictate that that's going to be the next fight.
Right.
Let's think about it.
But the fans deserve to I'm sorry, I've said that wrong. The fans deserve to know why it's not happening. It's not happening because Spence refuses to fight Crawford and doesn't even want to hear about it. Secondly, who's going to put the money up? It's going to be a guarantee of $25 million to those guys. Somebody's got to put up the money, and I don't see anybody putting guarantee in that fight $25 million. Plus, don't forget you got the undercard to go with it. You got an undercard to go with it, and the other expenses. You got about another $3 million. You got $28 million show. That show would be hard pressed to make money. Because don't forget, once those guys get that money, they're going to want pay-per-view buys, $8 a home and $5 a home, respectively, probably over 500,000 homes. So that fight would be hard pressed to make money, but it doesn't matter because Spence won't come to the table, so it doesn't matter.
I heard your interview with Fred with Barbershop Conversation the other day.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see the second. I saw a tiny bit of the second one, but the first one I saw basically the whole thing. Right?
You mean the marathon one, the 3 hour and 5 minutes? Okay.
The first one. So
my wife, you want to know what my wife said about that? You guys will laugh. She goes, anybody who listened to you for 3 hours and 5 minutes, they should check their sanity.
Listen, I'm going to say this before Punch carries on. On this YTBC, Rick, there's a lot of delusional fans.
Oh, please.
On the YouTube, boxing fans are so delusional. I've got to say this, Rick, I come from England. I don't want to say too much, but I've never seen as many delusional fans for Deontay Wilder. I really haven't. What is going on in America with these fan bases, which some of them look like they need mental check? What do you think about that?
100%. I said it. I say it all the time. I mean, they're just completely deluded. Listen, I gave them a compliment the other day, and they got pissed off at me. I said they know what they're watching as far as the science of the game. They're intelligent, but they're not in the business. They don't know the business, so they got insulted. I said they don't know the business. Well, you don't know the business. They're not in it. So, but I did say they know what they're watching. Now, do they get delusional about the Wilder? That Fury was cheating with the gloves. And I mean, it's just completely nuts. Please, I mean, it just there's that LDBC, which is Lions Den Boxing Club, but then they have subdivisions. Some are Haymonites, some are Wilderettes, and some are Earl Sexuals.
Now let me ask you why don't you have feminized nicknames for the other fan base?
Like what?
Like you just said, the Feminites. What is it? The transsexual.
Well, I didn't invent those names. I just picked them up from other people.
Okay. All right. No, because I was telling you, I was listening to the show. That's why.
Wait. How do you call a guy a Wilderette when his last name's not Wilder? How do you call a guy Earl Sexual if his first name's not Earl? And you know, I mean, and Haymon, I mean, we know Haymonites are. Haymonites are two things: people that are that follow the cult of Al Haymon. Is you know the cult like following Al Haymon has his fans and the workers around him, the people that say yes to him every day. Yes, Al, no matter what you say, Al, it's right. And I have no mind of my own. I can't think, and whatever you say, Al's right. That's another hate type of Haymanite.
But don't you think that the fighters are happy with Al? You know, you critique Al Haymon, but
You're 100% wrong.
Well, the ones that come out publicly.
Correct. And you're not allowed to come out bad because it's in your contract.
Okay.
So out of 250 fighters, 30 of them are saying, hey, thank you, Al Haymon. What about the other 220 you never hear from? They can't say nothing.
Okay. So is there something in the contract? What is it? The disclosure or something like that?
Yeah, you can't badmouth the network, can't badmouth Al Haymon, can't badmouth TGB, can't badmouth this, can't badmouth our sponsors, can't badmouth this. I mean, it's nuts. I mean, it's a cult. It's literally a cult. They're drinking they're drinking the Kool-Aid.
So it really is that way then, Rick?
Yeah, of course.
So it's a gangster's paradise.
I don't know what you want to call it, but
it's a gangster's playground.
Put it this way to you: if Al Haymon if the Cray brothers ever looked Al Haymon straight in the eye, okay, he'd shit his pants.
So what do you think about one of the subscribers, Stephen 4722? He keeps sending this message, and it's pretty. He says nowadays you got millions of illegal streams going on because they're sick of this pay-per-view. And what do you think about this illegal streaming? Isn't it?
Well,
harming?
of course.
Yeah, but look at it. Isn't the illegal streaming?
Listen, let me explain.
Some of boxing's revenue.
Let me explain. I don't like that they're doing illegal streaming, but when Al Haymon puts fights on that aren't they shouldn't be on pay-per-view, they should illegal stream it. Okay. Now I have a problem when they steal like a Wilder Fury fight signal or a Canelo fight, which they should be buying. That I have a problem with. But when it shouldn't be on pay-per-view, then go steal the signal. That's how I feel. You think that's fair enough?
How about the Porter and Bud?
That was borderline pay-per-view. That was borderline. That warranted pay-per-view because they were getting 10 million, and because it was mandatory and it was Crawford's best competitor at welterweight. That warranted pay-per-view, barely. And I said it. I said it on many shows. It barely warranted pay-per-view.
See, I get a lot of flack because I say I'm buying for the Keith Thurman pay-per-view.
You what?
Yeah, I'm buying the pay-per-view.
So I gotta go here as well. Before Punch tells you that he's gonna buy Keith Thurman's pay-per-view, even if Keith Thurman fights a YouTuber. Punch is a big Keith Thurman fan.
Well, if that's how you feel, you're entitled to spend your money the way you want to spend your money.
Thank you.
So I have to go to this though, Rick. Everybody's asking. The world wants to know from you, Rick. And I've got to go here because I've got to be honest. I don't know how long you got, so we got to grill these questions, bruv. Now, in England, there's mixed emotions because boxing has come from poverty and given many different ethnic backgrounds. I will say this, Rick. I've been in boxing. I've trained with fighters. I've seen fighters come from nothing, Rick, nothing. And we've seen the stories of Mike Tyson, Floyd Mayweather, fighters who came from nothing and ruled the world and became multi-millionaires.
Right.
Boxing has given a world to the person who doesn't have the opportunity in the projects. Now, I'm going to say this, Rick. I came from the projects when I was a kid. So I know what it feels like. But when the boxing gives you some opportunity, it's been the paradise for the kid who never had nothing. But today, you got Terence Crawford, who is saying that Bob Arum, and actually taking Bob Arum to court for racial bias and different allegations that he's put under Top Rank and Bob Arum's head. Now, my thing is this, Rick. People have got mixed emotions because Crawford is a multi-millionaire. And He's a man who's made it, and the kids who haven't got nothing, they live to be a boxer to become like him.
Mhm.
So what do you think about this? Because we are mixed emotions. We're confused, and there's been a lot of people speaking about it. George Foreman, Muhammad Ali's family, Timothy Bradley. Everybody said this is bullshit.
Right.
Bob Arum can do anything he wants. He's arrogant. He might be old. He's maybe, you know, sometimes he's tough, but he ain't a fucking racist. What do
Right.
you think about this?
I think they're 1,000% correct. He's blurring. Everybody's blurring the lines. Okay, and literally everybody. So this is what I mean. Okay, racism is hate. Aram does not hate Terence Crawford. He doesn't hate black people. He doesn't hate Hispanics. He doesn't hate anybody. It's a business, and he's got to keep a business profitable. He's got $1 million overhead every month to pay corporate executives there, okay, and the core workers, okay, and you know whether they be salary or hourly, it doesn't matter. It's still $1 million a month, and he has got a business to run, and people are confusing capitalism and racism. He's not racist. It's capitalism. And what people aren't getting is that certain fighters are going to get a push because they can sell, and they do big TV ratings, they do big live gates, more sponsors from sometimes when a certain fighter fights, better locations. You know, okay, in other words, where you can do fights right in Vegas rather than go to some Timbuktu casino. Okay, and top-ranked corporate officers are right in Vegas, so it's easier for them. They don't have to travel and uproot their whole staff for a week and go travel. They can just stay right in Vegas. So they go with the fighter that's best economically, best for the company, you know, and what's best for ESPN and Disney. And that's just the way it is. I mean, that's why they signed Tyson Fury, because he's where it's at. That's why they went out and signed Josh Taylor. He's where it's at.
But somebody told me, right? They said, look, Rap, the problem with Crawford is he doesn't make Bob Arum's job easy either. Now, he makes millions, but he doesn't self-promote himself. He's got a bit of a dull personality. Let me finish this one, Rick.
That's a fact.
Now, look, Rick,
Yep.
I'm going to say this. I speak to a lot of people in the boxing world. They say that Terence Crawford doesn't self-promote himself well. And if he didn't want to
Right.
rely on Bob, he said some fighters are out there and they make Bob's job easy. He said, look at Tyson Fury. Bob Arum don't need to promote Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury promotes himself.
Right.
Is it
exactly.
true that Terence Crawford
Yeah, but I
doesn't
think
promote himself well? What do you think about those comments?
let me tell you how I look at it. He's a great fighter. He's not good. He's great. I really like him. I root for him as a you know from a fan standpoint, because to be in the business you have to be a fan first. So from a fan, I do root for him. I like him as a person, but he's a mope. He has no personality, and he doesn't do anything to promote himself. He doesn't. They push him to go on ESPN Sports Center. They push him to go on the shoulder programming on ESPN and ESPN Plus and all that kind of stuff, and he refuses. He totally refuses ever to do it. And this is not a Bud Crawford list, but Top Rank keeps a list of all the fighters that don't go on those shows and the dates and everything else. And that'll, you know, I'm sure that'll come out if in depositions and if there's a trial and everything else. So he didn't do anything to promote himself. You have to go out and promote yourself, and he just doesn't. And
I'm sorry.
That's a problem.
Let me ask this though. If Bud Crawford, let's say, had 3 more years under Top Rank, what do you think that Bob Arum would have said those comments about, you know, I would have bought 7 Malibu mansions?
He started saying it. Listen,
I think because I feel like he said that knowing that he got one more fight left to devalue Bud Crawford.
Everybody's missing something. Bob didn't want to retain him. It was too much money for him for the return. He couldn't build them up. He tried. Okay, but Bud wouldn't cooperate, and it's a problem. He wouldn't cooperate with ESPN. Forget about Top Rank. He wouldn't cooperate with ESPN, and it's a problem.
No, I understand that. I understand that. I'm saying if he would have had 3 more years, would he say those comments at the time that he said those comments?
I don't know. You're asking me how another man thinks. I can't answer that.
Because I think he would have never said those comments. Yeah. He knew he had one more fight left, and he like, fuck it. I'm just gonna say whatever I gotta say. I'll devalue him.
Here's where I have a problem with the lawsuit. Okay, forget about it. And we already touched on the racism standpoint. It's not racism, it's capitalism. Okay, he doesn't hate blacks, he doesn't dislike blacks, he doesn't dislike Bud Crawford. It's money. Okay, now let's go to that lawsuit for a second. In the lawsuit it says that he's owed a fight for he's owed a fight from 2019, that he only had 1 fight when he actually did have 2. So it's a mistake. He fought Cavalicius and he fought Amir Khan. Then in 2020s, when he only had 1 fight because of the COVID, they were down months. Okay, and there's a force majeure in that contract and an act of God. What an act of God is anything that could stop a fight from happening or a society shutting down. And a force majeure is the actual cancellation or the freezing of everything where a promoter cannot perform his professional services because of, in this case, the COVID and the government shutting down and everything else. Okay. The government shutting, the boxing commission shutting everything down. So he had 1 fight. Now, here's my problem with that. Okay. He's wrong because of the COVID. Okay. 100%. And because he didn't want to fight in front of no crowds. He thought that was bullshit. Okay, fine. But let's say he's owed a fight by what he thinks. Okay, by the lawsuit. My problem is on November 20th, when that fight was over, he declared himself a free agent. Now, if Aram owes you for a fight, okay, and you didn't fight, and he owes you a fight, then why did you declare free agency on November 20th when the fight was over? You can't have your cake and eat it too. So if he felt that he was short of the fight, that he's owed a fight, then why did he say his contract was up November 20th? I'm out of here from Top Rank. Do you see what I'm saying, gentlemen?
Yeah, I hear you. What do you say about people saying that you never really critique Bob Arum?
I do all the time. I blasted Arum multiple times. He blasted me and said that about something about Tyson Fury and Wilder with the pay-per-view. No, it was in between when he fought Ortiz or whatever with the pay-per-view one was. Maybe it was Brazil or something. I said the pay-per-view number was bad. And he said to me, he said, not to me, but he said, Glazer doesn't know what he's talking about. Okay, sure I don't. Okay. I mean, their whole staff gets their pay-per-view numbers from all the competitors from me, from everybody else is doing pay-per-view over the years and stuff like that. And Bob knows me on a first name basis. I mean, come on, please. He said he barely knew me. Okay, right. Sure. I mean, Bob says what he wants, and so I went back and blasted Bob.
But Bob does say some crazy stuff as well, though. Bob is one of the most vocal guys, but sometimes the stuff that Bob comes out with, Rick, he does come out with some crazy shit.
He is. The expression is he talks outlandish at times. I agree with you, and there's not even a. There's no. You got Aram smiling and you got Bud smiling in the same picture. That won't happen again. Save that picture. So what I'm basically saying is to you gentlemen is about myself and Aram. I do criticize Aram. If they put on a fight that doesn't warrant to be a main event, I'll say so. I'm not afraid of that. But here's the difference, guys. It happens infrequently. With PBC, it happens every show. With Eddie Hearn, it happens quite often, not nearly as much as PBC, but a lot more than Top Rank. That's my situation. So that's why I don't criticize Aram that much, because of the fact that the mistakes are very few. Remember something. Arum was leaning on 7 people in that office. Okay, 5 are boxing executives. Okay, he's got the expertise and the go-to guys there. Okay, Eddie Hearn's got Frank Smith, and they don't know the American market. Okay, and then PBC, he don't listen to Al Haymon. Don't listen to anybody. He just does what he wants to do. So it's easy to criticize. Arum, it's harder to criticize because it doesn't make the same mistakes those other guys do in the same frequency. In other words, infrequently he makes he does something. I do call him out on it.
But earlier I heard a contradiction. I don't know. Maybe you could clear it up for me, because
Sure.
You said that Al Haymon and them, they lost like $1 billion, but then Rapstar asked you about where does the money come from, and you said we don't know where the money come from. So how would you know they lost $1 billion if you don't know where the money come from?
No. It was 2 different questions. So let me explain.
Just clarify. I'm just saying.
Okay, right. The original money of $550 million came from White Owl Reed. All that money is interest, penalties, legal fees, and everything else. It's close to $1 billion now. Okay, fine. Okay, and probably they gave additional money after the 550 to keep them afloat. Now we were talking about the losing money on the current pay-per-views, and I said I don't know if Fox and Showtime is fronting, guaranteeing the money or not. That's where we'd be coming from. It's really 2 different questions. Okay, does that satisfy you?
Okay. I'm just clarifying, because I think I came in.
One is corporate long term, and the other one is where's the money coming to do these money losing pay-per-views. And I said maybe they're coming from Showtime and Fox. I don't know that, but that may be a possibility. They're guaranteeing the money.
I just think business common sense would tell us. I mean, me looking from the outside in, right? If they're losing money on pay-per-view and they're losing money just overall, as a business person, if I'm losing out each and every time, I won't keep on doing the same thing. I won't keep on investing. So why are they still doing pay-per-view if everybody say they're losing on pay-per-view? Why would you keep on?
Because I think it's an experiment that they're trapped. They're down money. Fox could only put so many fights with sponsors on TV, and they don't have enough sponsors to cover all the events, and they have to put some of them on pay-per-view to cover some of the money. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I just want to say this.
Let me run this by you. But
I just want to say this as well, though,
because Moonshine, let me just say this to you. This is interesting. What you just said, if they're losing money, there's no question they're losing money. If they did 52,000 for what's name, even though the site part made money, it did a big gate, but the pay-per-view didn't do shit. It only did 52,000 homes. They did less than 25,000 on Ortiz and Martin. Of course, and it was $39.95, which returns $24 to the promoter per buy. So of course it lost a lot of money. I mean, it's not if, it is now. The Tank situation, Tank Davis, is different because it did a big gate, but that's not the pay-per-view. We're dealing with pay-per-view numbers.
Got it. I think Rapstar, you was gonna say something?
Hello? What happened to Rapstar?
Oh, I don't know.
Well,
I thought he was gonna ask. But I thought he was gonna ask something. But yeah, that's. I mean, it's very it's very intriguing. You give the insight of the sport of boxing, because a lot of people in the boxing industry don't give us the insight. We don't know the business of boxing like we know the perspective of other sports like the NBA. We know free agency. We know the draft. We know why this player get cut. We know the 10-day contracts. We know the business of boxing when it comes to the NFL. I mean, we know the business of the sport when it comes to the NFL and NBA, but the boxing like a secret society. So, we really appreciate you talking about the business side of boxing. I did an interview with Nonito Donaire, and he was blasting, he was showing the contracts, the way promoters or managers, exposing the contracts and how fighters sign and how they get, practically slave contracts.
Yep.
Do you feel there's too many slave contracts in boxing today?
Well, I don't call them slave contracts. I think that's a horrible, horrible expression, and it's no place for business. What do I call them? I call them basically restrictive agreements, is what they are. They're really restrictive because you can't fight for anybody else. You're limited in scope to what you can do as a fighter when you're putting your life and livelihood on the line. But that's the way the business works. You know, I hate to say this, but it's the pimp and hoe theory. Where's Rapstar?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm listening. I mean, this is very educational. And, you know, we can see that there's an insight over here. So I don't want to really disturb too much. But yeah, I'm here.
Well, you haven't asked a question in a long time. I'm ready for one of your
I'm ready for you. I listen, you and Punch were mixing it up. But, you know, I'm here. So look, my thing is this now. There's another question I have for you. Women's boxing. When we see women's boxing, we especially see a lady standing out called Clarissa Shields, who's one of the best women boxers in boxing today. What we're saying is she seems to be complaining a lot about boxing. And she seems to say that boxing is underpaying her. Boxing is not good sport for women. And also, it seems like Clarissa Shields has been forced to go to MMA to make the money because boxing is not giving her what she wants and she's not getting the exposure that she needs. Is that anything to do with a bit like, does she self-promote herself? What do you think it is with Clarissa Shields?
I don't like women's boxing. I don't watch. I'm not a fan of women's boxing. I don't believe in it. But to the question that you asked, the answer is she can't punch. She's not exciting. She's not a draw. She's got a militant attitude, and she thinks the world owes her a living. And she has no fan base, very little fan base. The fan base she has is very, very minimal. And she was being over. I understand. I don't know what she was getting paid, but the expression was she was greatly overpaid for her value to society, is what basically it came down to. And she's just not an attraction. Now, some of the women that fight over in the UK are attractions. There's no question about that. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 of them. Their names escape me. Katie Taylor is one. The other woman, her first name and last name is B a piece. The letter B.
So, are you saying you don't do business with women's boxing?
No, I have nothing to do with. I don't know one fighter from the next. I have no interest. Zero.
So this conversation really is not for you because you don't really get involved in women's boxing.
No, but you asked me specifically about Clarissa Shields,
yeah, like
and I
Clarissa
understand.
Shields, the best boxer in the world for the women, and she's having to go to MMA because she can't earn no money in boxing.
Right, but because she's not popular.
Well, arguably, you know, Amanda Serrano, who's with Jake Paul, 7th Division World Champion, gonna face Katie Taylor in New York.
Wait, hold on. She's popular.
Who, Amanda Serrano?
Absolutely. So is Katie Taylor.
Yeah, and that's gonna be a good fight, Madison Square Garden.
I've never heard one person or seen it with my eyes ever say a bad word about Amanda Serrano, ever. Okay. Now, Katie Taylor, a couple people said something negative, but not very, very minor and very few. But I've never seen anybody print a bad word or say a bad word about Amanda Serrano. That she's a great fighter, she's excellent, she's a cool person, and nobody ever says anything good about Clarissa Shields. So that tells you something right there.
I mean, in the interview, you did say that she was a disgusting woman.
Oh, because of what she did with when the trainer of the other fighter was attacked at the weigh-in, and she denied knowing who that guy was when it was her half brother, and that to me is disgusting.
Maybe it could be. I think a lot of people took. Even when I heard, I'm like, "Come on, Rick, disgusting woman." I think that was too harsh.
No. I said why. They asked me why, and why I felt that way, and I said so. No, it was about It was about what she did. She completely denied it. Then when they realized it was her half brother, he got nothing to do with my camp. He was just there on his own. And she kept throwing him under the bus. Shut up already. Don't say nothing. She just, just a bad attitude. And, they attacked an old man, like a 71 or 72-year-old man. I mean, an old timer that's been about boxing forever, that's got a great reputation. James Bashir. I mean, James Ali Bashir. I mean, so it was wrong. It was disgusting. That was what it was. I said it properly. I didn't missay it.
I mean, some people do say this. There's no point hiding it. In the chat, we've got lots of people right now, Rick, from all over the world, and a lot of people say that Clarissa Shields has got a bad attitude.
She has a horrible attitude.
But let's be honest.
She's got a horrible attitude.
No, but listen, when Mike Tyson had a bad attitude for a man, nobody gave a fuck then.
Mm.
But do you think it's a woman? Do you think it's because it's a woman?
No. Mike Tyson, the fans loved Mike Tyson. He didn't have a bad attitude. He was a macho guy. This is a woman that has a militant attitude and gets nasty with people on social media and starts blasting them. And then a poor white guy that says something negative about her, she's bringing up that he's a white guy. I mean, it's all bad. None of it's good. And you know what? I can't be too wrong. She can't make a living she can't make enough money as a boxer. People don't want to even promote her as a boxer because there's no money. So there you go. So I can't be too wrong. It's in the results.
Go on, Punch.
I'm a big fan of women boxing. I could understand, because when I watch Clarissa Shields, I said, man, she needs a knockout. She needs to stop somebody. She got to be more exciting. And this is why I do believe that Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor is an exciting fight. That, I've been saying it for 2 years, that both of these ladies deserve the 7-figure payday, and they're gonna get it. They're gonna get it on I believe it's gonna be on April MSG, and maybe. They set the tone. Because I do feel there's exciting women boxers, Mayer, Baumgartner, and maybe Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. That fight will set the tone.
Well, I do watch Michaela Mayer a little bit. In other words, I don't watch her whole fight, but I'll peek in. When she's fighting, I'll be playing on Twitter and replying to tweets and emails and stuff and texts. But I watch her because I'm friends with her trainer, Al Mitchell. So he's Al's a longtime friend of mine for I don't know, man, since like 97 maybe. So he's like a 25-year friend of mine. So I'll watch he trains her. That's it.
Now I gotta say this now, Rick. It seems like you've been in the business of boxing for how long? 28 years or 30 years? How long you been?
31 years.
So you've been in boxing for 31 years, right?
Yep, January 5th, 91.
Wow. So you've been in it for 31 years.
Yep.
Now, my question has to be with you that you've worked with some of the most phenomenal fighters and people in boxing. I think some of the names that I need to ask you about is Hector Camacho, Macho Camacho. I believe he was one of your clients. Was that true?
No, I never represented him. What happened was that he fought for Mike Aker. He was his promoter from 94 to 99, and I was Mike's exclusive matchmaker. So I was always in the position of, having a good relationship with Hector and having dinner with him, and doing stuff with him. You know what I mean? So he liked my personality. He knew I was a good boxing guy, and we just got along really well. So, but he wasn't my client, but he was the client of a promoter, and I worked for the promoter as the matchmaker.
Okay, but you kind of knew him, right? You know Macho Camacho.
Very, very well. Very well.
Yeah. Now, was this fighter? They say that Macho Camacho was his own worst enemy. Was he? Yep. In your eyes, was he a guy who used to take a lot of drugs or be alcoholic? Or was he one of these guys who wasn't disciplined And if he was, he would have been much better.
Um, he was. It was a little weird. Yes, he did drugs. It's very well documented. But he was a functioning person who did drugs, so he could get in a car and drive straight. He talked normal. When he was screwed up, even, but he was screwed up. He was, because you could see it in his eyes and stuff like that, and you can see it and all that. But he was screwed up. He even admitted several times he was screwed up over the years, publicly to people that he was close to. So, yeah, he could have been a much better fighter, longer term at a higher level if he hadn't been doing drugs. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, for sure. And not to mention, you've been around Larry Holmes, Roberto Duran. I mean, you worked with all kinds of personalities or been around different personalities.
Yep, for sure. Paul Spadafora, Roberto Duran, Larry Holmes. My only thing with Holmes was that I worked for the promoters, like Camacho, and I was the matchmaker for the promoters that he fought for. Or Larry called me up and said, "Hey, I'm fighting on such and such a day. Get me an opponent, and I'll fight him, and just get me somebody, the right guy." I go, "Yeah, okay, no problem." So that's what I do. I provide what I basically do with boxing is I supply quality supplemental services to basically the whole boxing industry around the world, whether they're TV networks, promoters, fighters, managers, whoever, casinos, whatever, anything to do with boxing. I'll stick my beak in there, in my big mouth.
Man, that's amazing. Let's go to today's world right now, and then I'm going to bring Punch in because I've got a really couple last few questions for you. In today's world, there's a name out there in America that a lot of people know. His name is Rick Ross. No, sorry, Freeway Rick Ross. Because there's a Rick Ross for the casuals, which is in America, which is a hip hop artist, right? But this is Freeway Rick Ross, the original Rick Ross, I think they call him.
The real Rick Ross.
Yeah, the real Rick Ross, the OG. Now he's come into boxing.
Right.
And it seems like you do business with Freeway Rick Ross. And I know he's come to Punch Drunk Boxing's channel before and chopped it up with over there. So what is the boxing relationship between you and Freeway Rick Ross? And what's Rick Ross's relationship with boxing?
Freeway Rick Ross loves boxing. Enjoys it. He loves fighters because it's something he could never do. And he was never a fighter, and it's not something he would be good at. So he respects fighters an awful lot for that reason. And I think he's going to make the consequential very good advisor in boxing. I'm the executive consultant for his company called Team Freeway Boxing. TeamFreeway.com is the website. And Freeway wants to enter the boxing business for all the right reasons. He wants to help the fighters. The good thing about Freeway is he really doesn't need the money. He's got eight businesses presently, and plus his public speaking. Is just a tremendous demand for his public speaking. Every other week he's on the road doing the public speaking, and he gets paid very large sums of money for his speeches. He's got a couple books out, 2 books out, writing a third one right now. They're going to do a movie on his life. Netflix did a documentary, a 2-hour one. Now they're looking at a 6 to 8 episode series on his life. They're talking about a movie. They've actually started the movie. It's going to take a couple years. They're going to go slow on it because they want to eventually encompass the boxing into the movie too. So they want him to get more established in the boxing. Basically speaking, I think he's got a great attitude about it. He's looking for generational wealth for his kids because his kids, even though Freeway will be this coming week, he'll be a couple days. He'll be on the 26th of the month. He'll be 62. and his kids are only 10 and 8. So he wants generational wealth for his kids, and that's the reason why he's opened up all these businesses. It's about
So
his kids. It's not about him.
Is it fair to say if I'm a father and I've got a kid who's a good boxer coming up, I should contact you to get me into
Yeah,
the
absolutely,
right
absolutely.
connections that I need?
And listen, I'm not limited to Freeway Rick Ross. I bring
No,
certain fighters to Rick.
right.
There's other fighters that belong with other people. You know, I bring fighters all over the world. It's part of what I do.
So
You
even
know,
fighters from my side of the pond in England, they can contact you.
absolutely, 100%.
Did you hear that? So look, we have a lot of boxers coming through these streams, and I will say, thanks to this, thanks for Punch Drunk, he's had multiple. They come all the time. So at least we know that Rick Glaser is there to offer his services for any fighters. If you need any, he's an advisor and he can, get you where you need to be. And if you're good enough, I'm sure Rick's the man.
Yeah, hey, I wanted to go not left field to this, but I wanted to bring
No,
back.
go left field. Rick don't give a fuck.
Now, Rick, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think the firing of when I was it the let go of Paulie Malignaggi from Showtime? Do you think Paulie Malignaggi made racist comments, or you think that Paulie Malignaggi is racist?
I can't answer any of those questions because I don't know if he is or not. I don't believe he is. But I'm going to say, because I've never heard him say anything to me when I've talked to him, that would even, anywhere near racism. But I will say they should have never fired him, period. He was a great asset to Showtime, and I think he's a great announcer. He's got a great personality. He was the next generation of announcers, and I think they lost out just as much as he did.
Take it a bit further, a little deeper. Do you feel in boxing, let alone in society? We know the history of this country, but do you feel that it's getting to the point when a Caucasian man criticizes a black man or a black fighter? Do you feel like white people can't even criticize them without hearing that they're racist if they do?
Correct. I'll give you 2 examples. Okay, 2 examples. So I said a while back, a couple years ago, that I think that that Crawford would beat Spence. Okay, and when I thought the fight would have been a reality, obviously it's not, because Spence don't want no part of him. But I said that, and the guy called me racist. I said, "Why am I racist? They're
Well,
both
I gotta
black
stop you
fighters."
there. I have to stop you because that
Okay.
means you are answering a lot of questions for all these fans in the world, especially on this YouTube. They have conversations every day, Rick, and they fight each other, sit on YouTube all day talking about this fighter ducks this fighter, that fighter's ducking that fighter. Can you tell everybody in boxing, in your experience, do fighters actually really duck and avoid each other?
Well, sometimes they do. I believe Earl Spence is. It's just been too long, and Bud's wanted to fight him, and he don't want no part of him. He was interviewed after one fight and said, "Oh, I'm gonna." They asked him about Bud. Well, I'm gonna go on my farm and play with my horses and my chickens. Could you
Yeah, but
imagine
he did
Marvel's
say to you, and he did say to you and everyone that he's going to clear up everybody in his divisions, in his own
Yeah,
people. He
he's
told
gonna
Bob
come
Arum this.
back.
I'm just
He,
saying, he told
right.
Bob Arum, and he told, just to be fair, because we're pretty hardcore boxing fans out here.
Right, I get it.
I'm just saying we're in this game. He did turn around and put a Twitter up. He said, "I'm going to beat everybody in my side of the lane. Once my time is up and I clear up, Terence Crawford is going to get it." He didn't lie about it. His accident put him back for a while. What do you think about that?
I just think that's a bunch of horseshit. He'll come up with an excuse that he can't make the 47 anymore. He'll come up with some kind of bigger fight. He'll come up with some kind of horseshit. He just doesn't want to fight.
So you really think that Errol Spence, if he beats August, has 3 belts? You think Errol Spence and PBC and Al Haymon will avoid the Terence Crawford fight?
Yep.
Well, Punch has been saying the same thing for fucking 2 years.
Yep, absolutely. The earmarks are there. He avoids the questions. He couldn't even look the guy straight in the eye when he saw him in a fight. He
So
couldn't even look
fighters do avoid each other, Rick.
What? Yeah, absolutely.
Do fighters do it, or the business handlers, the managers, the promoters?
Both of them.
So it's a bit to do with the both of them.
Yes.
You can't just blame it on the fighter.
No.
It's also
because it's like. Yeah, because it's like Devin Haney versus Ryan Garcia. They fought each other like 7 times in amateurs. For somebody to be like, oh well, Ryan Garcia's scared of Devin Haney, or the other way around, be like, come on, they fought for free 7 times. Ain't nobody scared of nobody. It has to be the business, the boxing that prevents the fight, right?
Right. Exactly. So come on, guys, ask you some more questions.
Man, come on, Punch. I'm just getting something.
I mean, he was getting you cut him off on the question when he was going to answer. It was a good the good question when he was talking about.
Can you ask him some explicit New York question that you don't give a fuck, and ask Rick about the boxing business, bro? Explicit.
I mean, in terms of what explicit in terms of what? I mean, we asking straightforward question. What type of? I mean, there's a lot of what's out there. What's out there right now that we can't understand. I think that you could stop me if I'm wrong, and I don't even think it's a question, but I'm gonna make a statement. I think that that if people understand the business of boxing, I really don't think that people could take the information about what really goes on behind the scenes of the business of boxing. I don't think that. I think that people just look at belts, but I think the ranking system is off. I think it's paid off. I think you could be ranked number 20 and then tomorrow be ranked number 7. And so you could just it's if people understand the business of boxing more and more, I mean they put fighters that's tailor-made for them to get beat up, to look good. So it's like breaking the fourth wall. Once you know the business of boxing, just half of it.
Yeah,
I think you start hating the sport of boxing. You start looking at fighters sideways.
I've got a question for Rick then, and it's going to be a bit of a question, which is, it is what it is. Rick, how come there's so many boxing platforms that can generate money? Where the fuck, Rick, does this money come from? And the other thing is, Rick,
when you say platforms, what do you mean? What do you mean, like TV networks?
Anthony Joshua fights. They paid so many millions to make the Tyson Fury Deontay Wilder fight. They generated $500 million for Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. But some people say this: how the fuck are they making money? Are they doing tax write-offs? Now I know what it is. It's a question that I need to ask you.
They make money because of worldwide rights. Some fights are just a lot bigger than others. And okay, so I'll give you an example. Okay.
Yeah.
All these idiots over here that don't understand the business want to know why that Aaron paid Amir Khan $5 million to fight Crawford. Is because that fight brought huge foreign TV revenues from the UK and from the Middle East and all over the world because of like India.
Yeah, but it don't make sense. No, the numbers don't make sense. You giving Floyd Mayweather 300. You're giving Manny Pacquiao 160 million. You've got to get $500 million together.
Everything's relative.
And you sell 4 million pay-per-views, right?
It did actually 3.4 million. They lied, but not 4.4.
Okay, now this is where we're confused. Where the fuck do these pay-per-view numbers that they put on record come from?
They just float them out to the press, and the press eats it right up.
Who throws it out?
The promoter throws it out. Most of the time the promoter throws it out. Puts it out there to the press.
These pay-per-view numbers, which they put out there, are fake.
No, they're inflated. They're not fake. There's a difference between fake and inflated. They actually exist. Fake doesn't exist that it's completely phony. They're not phony. They're just they're just
They're just
inflated.
manipulated.
Right. Correct. Mm-hmm.
But this is what I was saying earlier, that what Paco was saying, that the business of boxing is none of our business. So whatever they put, like, the people behind the scenes know the actual numbers, but we don't. Let's be real. We know that Bud Crawford and Sean Porter, both of them didn't get Bud didn't get 6 million, and Sean Porter got 4 million. They got more than that.
No, that's what they got.
Nah, no.
So there is a myth out there,
that.
Rick, and I'm going to shoot.
Well, hold on, Moonshine. Why do you think they got more than that?
See, that's what I mean. Because it's what people know behind the scenes. Both can't.
No, they got
ask Butter with a straight face, or ask Sean Porter with a straight face if they got more than that.
They got 6 and 4. Okay.
No, but Rick, what we're
because they paid 6 and 4 to the WBO on the sanctioning fees. That's how I know.
But what we're saying, Rick, you got the Saudis coming into the boxing game now. The Saudis have got all the oil money you could ever get, and nowadays they can generate a massive mega event and pay these fighters like they've never been paid before. And who are we to say? I'm glad that they can earn what they want to earn. My thing is this: there's a story out there that is everywhere, that boxing is the place for the gangsters' playground to clean their money. So if you're a billionaire, you don't have to be a gangster. You could be a Russian billionaire, but that's the place where you can put your money and be safe. Is that correct?
Well, let's put it this way to you. I don't know if it's correct. I've heard it, but I don't know if it's really correct. I don't believe that it's correct.
Yeah. So, these are
I've
just
heard
myths.
it. I'm acknowledging that I've heard it. I just don't believe in that theory.
No, I hear you. Hey, Rick, we're going to ask the uncut questions which have never been asked before, maybe. We're here to just have a conversation.
I volunteered to come on tonight. I just wanted tougher questions than this.
Oh, you want tougher than this now? For fuck's sake, Rick. Hey, Punch, take over. I've got a couple more questions for you.
Go ahead, Rap Star, the UK, the voice of the UK. Ask the tougher questions. People don't want to hear the lollipop shit.
Right, now I do want to ask this. Why is Eddie Hearn having a tough time? A man who's getting backed with endless money. Eddie Hearn is a man that's got the contacts, but he can't crack the United States right now. Why do you think there's a block for Eddie Hearn to come in and expand his company?
It's not a block. He doesn't understand the American market. It's not a block. America's it's a free place to do business. It's free enterprise over here. But he hasn't signed up fighters that resonate with the American public. He signed up them two little super flies and Estrada and Chocolatito, and they're big attractions. The problem is they can't fight often enough. And in the meantime, the fights aren't big enough. They're as big as they can be for 115-pound fights, but they're not heavyweights in the bigger weight, the bigger draws. But he just hasn't signed fighters that resonate with the American market. And he just doesn't understand the American market over here, and he doesn't understand the mentality of the fighters over here.
So it's going to be tough for Matchroom Promotions to be one of the big players in the United States.
Well, it is one of the big players, but the results haven't been good. You're confusing issues. Okay, he's been putting on promotions over here. Okay, but the results aren't there. The fights are bad. The gates aren't what they're supposed to be because he's not putting on shit that people want to see.
Yeah, but to be fair with you, the fans are happy with DAZN and what Eddie's trying to do, because if you see what Al Haymon's doing, the fans are not happy. They want to encourage the DAZN and they want to encourage that business.
You're comparing apples and oranges. You're comparing $6 a month, or $7 or $8 a month, compared to $39.95 to $89.95 pay-per-views all the time. You're confusing issues. Of course they're going to be happy with Eddie when you can buy all those DAZN fights for $8 a month or $7.99 a month or whatever. That's just what the facts are. Everything is relative. I mean, that's the way it is. Listen, you walk into a whorehouse, guys. The tall, voluptuous broad with the big boobs and the beautiful long legs, and she's really wholesome looking, and buxom blonde, whatever. Raven, maybe you like a brunette. Okay, she's a lot of money. The little short one with no high heels on, with a flat chest and no ass, she ain't too much. She isn't a lot of money, is she?
Right.
So everything's relative.
Now,
go ahead.
Now, peep this. Don't you think that damn, it sounds bad.
Moonshine, you better pick the pace up a little bit.
Nah, I'm gonna ask this because I know you don't give Bob Arum any critique, so I'm gonna ask this. Remember the purse bid with Teofimo Lopez, and Bob Arum went publicly, and Eddie Hearn also went publicly and saying that Bob Arum was trying to bully him and not to bid for Teofimo Lopez. Now, we understand that Eddie Hearn bid more than Top Rank. So do you think that promoters like Bob Arum was trying to devalue Teofimo Lopez from getting a purse? Because by telling Eddie Hearn not to bid on the fight, which he bid more, it's almost like saying you're keeping Teofimo Lopez to make more money. Right. So are these promoters business model or devaluing these fighters?
I'll answer the question. Arum was wrong, but all's fair in love and war. Okay.
Got it.
Is that fair enough?
Yes, sir. Fair enough.
All right. Okay. And I'm gonna go here now, Rick. Now we're getting a lot of fans which complain, and especially the elder generation, and they say that these fighters are not fighting each other. A lot of the big fights are not fucking happening. Fans are frustrated. I'll tell you as it is. And that's why you got a lot of fans which are acting delusional, because big fights are not happening and it's a lot of talk. What do you see as the future of boxing? Do you see the future of boxing growing weight enormously? Or do you think that certain times big fights have to happen or boxing will die? What do you think?
I think a multitude of things. I think with legalized gambling now over here in America, where you can bet on your cell phone, I think boxing's going to take off again. I think we have to come to boxing to take off because of the gambling. We've got to come up with decisions that are fair. And when the general public sees a fight that they think won, he better get the decision, or we're going to fuck that up too. The third thing is, we don't give the fans enough fights some of the big fights that they want, and we need to do so. We can't keep reinventing ourselves. We just have to go along at a better pace with more quality fights. Every so often we reinvent ourselves for the big fight. And everybody comes running back to boxing, the fans, the media, the general media, the TV networks over here, the newscasters, the sportscasters. We can't be like that. We got to give everybody a good product every week. When you turn on your fights on Saturday night, on Showtime, Fox, ESPN, they should be giving you top flight fights. And they're not. As a general rule, they're not.
Well, so I think it has to be collectively though, because I think if you look at the number, let's say the free Teofimo Lopez Lomachenko hit 4.2 million, but before that it was Keith Thurman and Josecito Lopez that cracked 3 million free TV. So PBC and ESPN was successful in free TV, right?
The problem is that you're right. The problem is we don't give them enough of those type of fights. That's the problem. They're too infrequently.
I also think Rick, that the fans are also, how you say it, they don't keep it consistent as well, because the fans ask for great fights, ask for free fights, but then when we have fights like Undisputed Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor, free, Undisputed Jamel Charlo and Brian Castano, free, their numbers don't translate to undisputed big fights. So why the fans are not tuning in to the fights, but then complain about free TV and great fights when those are undisputed fights that was given for free, but the numbers was
I can't answer that question because you'd have to ask the people why they're not tuning in. But I just think they're just frustrated at the game period, and it's turned off. The politics of the game has turned off a lot of people. I have friends of mine from all walks of life. Okay, I have friends of mine that are worth, oh God, $500-600 million. I got friends of mine that need their $900 a month Social Security to pay their bills. Okay, and I treat everybody equally. All my friends get treated equally. You know what? I got this one guy who cannot afford pay-per-view, and he said, and he's a big boxing fan. He cannot afford it. He gets $968 a month from Social Security. Okay, you know what he said to me one day? He says, "I'm almost blessed these fights are not good enough to be on pay-per-view because I can only afford pay-per-view twice a year." So everybody's got a different attitude about it. The fights, they're not putting fights on pay-per-view that warrant pay-per-view. They're on the TV portion. A lot of times they're making fights that don't warrant main events on TV. But they're putting them on TV as main events. They're co-feature fights, and they need a better main event. A lot of times that happens, and the people deserve better than this. Okay?
So you're saying basically the man who's in business in boxing himself, Rick Glaser himself, says that the boxing current affair, the way that the business is right now, the model, is not that great then?
Well, it's great because there's big money in the business today with ESPN, Showtime, Fox, and DAZN. Don't get me wrong, okay? But from what they're giving the people is where the model is broken.
For the people, the business is not a great model. For the people, for the fans, the ones who are there supporting the actual boxing.
Correct. Absolutely correct.
So is there opportunities for a new movement to the sport?
Well, I don't think so, really.
Why? Why did you say that?
Because you basically have to be $1 billion company to do well in this business, like Aram or and Eddie Hearn, billion, and then you gotta have all these money behind you to do the shows. To TV networks and the streaming devices. So just for somebody to come in there, you got to come in with talent. You'd have to come in with 30, 40 top fighters, and you got to come in with $1 billion, at least 500 million of your own money to handle to do this, and then you got to have TV network the money. So you're asking for almost the impossible.
Why? Floyd Mayweather can do it. He's got that kind of money.
What's he done?
He ain't doing
Nothing.
shit. And I got to keep it honest with you, Rick. I love him as a fighter, but as a promoter, the man don't do a great job. And to be honest with you, I do want to go here now. I'm going to go here. How the fuck have we got promoters who have a big, let's say a platform, and they have a responsibility and they talk about fighters like bullshit? Because I know the business. Leonard Ellaby is toxic for boxing. That's my opinion. I said it on my channel.
Yep.
He comes up on interviews and he downgrades boxers which have achieved legacy. And Leonard Ellaby is a man who tells the world that Tank Davis is a bigger star than Josh Taylor. Tank Davis is a pay-per-view star. How the fuck is he selling a load of bullshit, on boxing, and he's getting away with it, Rick? What do you think about that fucking question? Sorry, because he really winds me up. I'll be honest.
Well, he resonated in Baltimore with a good crowd. He resonated in Atlanta with a good crowd, and in LA with a good crowd. But he's not resonating on pay-per-view. So it's sort of a little bit of an anomaly. He's a big draw, but he can't sell on pay-per-view so far. We'll see.
How do you turn around and tell the fans that they got the biggest fighter when he ain't got the belts? Josh
Now-
Taylor's got the belts.
Now, what was the comment, Rev? So he said, that Josh Taylor brings nothing to the table. Well, he's undisputed.
And this is ridiculous kind of stuff that they're promoting.
Isn't it a way that you could? You see, I understand when a promoter needs to promote its fighter, but when you're devaluing, when you devalue an accomplished fighter to big up your fighter, that's like weak promotion. That's not even promotion to me. That's actually damaging the sport. That's not promoting a fighter. That's damaging the sport. You're downplaying what an undisputed is, the ultimate crown in the respective division, and you're saying that he's not bringing anything to the table.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100% with you. There's no question about it. There's a way to express yourself without downgrading situations, and Leonard tells it that greatly. Now, Moonshine, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
How did you get the name Moonshine? Especially from you're a Spanish guy from New York City. So how did you get the name Moonshine?
Man, I got hooked on moonshine when I used to live in Miami.
Okay, there's your answer.
Down south, you know, got some good moonshine there.
Okay.
I picked up some good moonshine in Texas too.
Okay. That's why I was wondering. So I knew you got to get. It's not a name you get from New York City. That's for sure.
Nah, we got the worst moonshine out here. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's very select. It's not too many options. It's not too many options. But
so
what?
Rap. Come on, you guys got to ask some more questions. We got. Let's see. We got.
Yeah,
we
I'm just
20
coming back.
to go.
I'm just getting on the laptop. Punch. Can you please just take over for 2 minutes? I got something coming exclusive for Rick in a sec.
So yeah, but look, there's a lot of drama, a lot of craziness in boxing. What do you if you had a conversation right now with Bud Crawford, he wants to ask you your opinion about what's going on, what would you tell Bud Crawford about the situation he's handling with Top Rank? What would you tell him how would you advise Bud Crawford?
Well, if it was before the lawsuit, the cat's out of the bag now. But it was before the lawsuit. I would say, Bud, if you're owed another fight, you feel you're owed another fight, you need to go back there and say, hey, I'm owed one more fight to the contract. You only gave me one fight in 2020 and work it out. But just to go sue, they didn't even know the lawsuit was coming. Just got completely, I understand, Top Rank got completely blindsided. Totally blindsided. It's crazy. Arab's not racist. It's called capitalism. It's crazy.
So do you think that racism hides behind capitalism though?
No, not at all. Racism is hate. There's no hate here. It's about money. There's no hate.
What about
Rick, are you ready for me?
Oh, I was born ready for you.
Oh yeah. I was born ready, Rick. Listen to this one now, Rick. I've been watching boxing for close to, nearly close to, over 2 decades anyway. Yeah. But I've been watching a lot of boxing in the past, and I'm going to keep a very straight, blunt question. And in London, we're from London. We're like you New Yorkers. We don't hold back. We say it as it is.
Okay.
In today's boxing model, I see that America haven't got the superstars of boxing. Now, I love America. It's the mecca of boxing. Loads of my subscribers are from America, and I love what they bring for the sport. But there's a lot of frustration, Rick, and I'll tell you what it is. Canelo Alvarez, one of the pound-for-pound fighters, is ruling boxing. He comes from Mexico. Some of the American guys over there, especially some of the American people, they hate Canelo Alvarez for being who he is. The other thing is, Anthony Joshua, one of the biggest ticket sellers. In the history of the sport, Rick, America doesn't have the superstar right now. When Floyd Mayweather left and Sugar Ray left, Mike Tyson's of this world. Today, I don't know, I don't want to sound a bit, but I'm keeping it real. Why isn't the American boxer the number one, the biggest seller and the biggest ticket seller today? What has happened to American
Because boxing relegated itself from one of the principal sports to number 7. They're behind NASCAR. They're behind auto racing in general. I mean, they're behind UFC now, and they put themselves there because they're not putting on the big fights. And anytime you have something that even smells of something good, it goes on pay-per-view, and it's pissing the people off. And they're rejecting boxing for those and bad decisions in
But
fights.
it don't make sense, because Floyd Mayweather, Tyson, and all those guys left a blueprint for the American boxing, right? They left the blueprint.
But
I'm asking you, a Mexican guy from Mexico is coming to the United States
because
and he's selling more. This is the worst thing. He's selling more. Go on.
I'll answer the question.
Deep into this.
We got 46 million Mexicans in America, and everyone's a boxing fan. Well, no matter what their sexuality is, they're all boxing.
I'm going to say this again. Floyd Mayweather was the star, and he was the American boxing superstar. No one could come near him. Sugar Ray Leonard, he was the boxing golden boy. The money, no one could come near.
But they fought people. These guys aren't fighting anybody.
So why are the American boxers not being the number one guys? Because look, you've got Joshua, you've got Canelo Alvarez. They don't come from America. And the biggest star you got, Rick, is Errol Spence and Deontay Wilder. What do you think about it?
I think that we have a problem, and I've said it earlier in the show. We don't, the best don't fight the best. We've relegated ourselves to a 7th sport. The judging is terrible, and people are sick of all this stuff, and they're sick of paying for boxing content. They want to watch it at a reasonable price, not these crazy things being on pay-per-view, and all these things piss people off.
Yeah. So you think America has a problem?
Let me ask you a question. Over here, let me tell you something. The Super Bowl's not on pay-per-view. The Indianapolis 500 is not on pay-per-view. The World Series not on pay-per-view. NBA basketball finals, nothing's on pay-per-view. Nothing's on pay-per-view over here but boxing. What does that tell you right there? There's a problem, isn't there?
And this problem has come in the last decade?
It's gotten worse because of the bad decisions and because too many fights are going on pay-per-view that aren't supposed to be, and the best are not fighting the best. Yes, it's
but there's a major difference here. You got Sugar Ray Leonard, who used to earn over 10 million in the fucking 1980s, right?
Right.
The American blueprint, Terence Crawford ain't nothing compared to the superstars that America had.
But nobody's doubting that. That's an established fact, because the best are not fighting the best, and you can't come up with 1 or 2 great fights a year. You got to have great fights every weekend, and you can do pay-per-view more often if they're real quality fights and they're worth pay-per-view. You can't put shit on pay-per-view.
I think boxing shoots himself on the foot, though.
Absolutely, 1,000%, 1,000%.
I think boxing shoots itself on the foot, and I also think when promoters go at it, when they are the mouthpiece of boxing, when they go at it and diminish each other's fighters, then that's what they're promoting as well. That's why I was saying earlier, when the best is fighting the best, we have had I believe that 2022 was a good year. But also, is a lot of devalueness going on in the sport of boxing. So if we're the hardcore boxing fans, and all you hear in the Twitter boxing and YouTube, people criticizing these fighters, they ain't fighting nobody. Oh, his resume suck. I mean, Bud Crawford's a 3-division world champion, and he's undisputed, but who has he fought? When a casual is trying to learn from boxing, they're going to go to the hardcore boxing fans. And all we saying is, this guy ain't fighting nobody. The best ain't fighting the best. He ain't earned this belt. This is a fake belt. It's too many belts. So by the time a fight happens, ain't nobody really dying to watch the fight, because we already devalue everything. We devalue the fight. And then we wonder why is the numbers the way it is? I also think that boxing fans, hardcore boxing fans, even when we got great fights, we do a disservice to the sport as well, as much as the guy the business of boxing. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, can you hear me, Rick?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it is a different time now. And the biggest superstar is Canelo Alvarez, Anthony Joshua, and names from different countries. And let's not forget, Manny Pacquiao was bigger than anyone just before he retired when he was coming to America and selling a lot. But
Right.
like you explained, it's a different time and they're doing a disservice. It seems like I don't look, it just seems like the American market is doing a disservice to its own fans, bro.
Yep.
You know, and it just feels that way. But Rick, I gotta tell you this. Will you come back soon for another episode in part 2?
Absolutely. There's not even a question. I mean,
I know. And I'm going to catch up with you soon as well. Can you tell everybody, or would you like to, if there's a boxer or somebody who needs to get in touch with you, where do they find you?
Wait. Not so fast. Not so fast.
Oh, no. Go on, a punch. No, you carry on. Go on, carry on, bro.
Oh, can you elaborate? Because I interview Kid Austin. Can you elaborate on the issue, if you can, on what on why there was a departure or the separation, or you're not advising them anymore? What happened on your side? They explained their side on my interview. What happened on your side?
there was nothing. The father has a different view of things than I do and how to conduct business. I've been a success for 31 years in this business. I'm not telling people have me what to do. And furthermore, Freeway's already involved with the fighter and the father. And he said to me, I told him it was a double kill, that, it's no sense of it. You and I just worked together with the kid. He says, it's a good idea, Rick. And I was, because I didn't feel, I was on edge with the father all the time, calling me, making demands and everything else. And, I don't play that game. If you don't listen to me, why am I going to take your money? It's that simple. They're saying that, people don't like me in boxing. Actually, I'm not running a popularity contest. Kenny Porter says, he can't sign him up with Al Haymon and PBC because I'm involved. Who gives a shit? Like, that's the end all. It's ridiculous. He's got a promoter anyways in Texas, Davies Entertainment. So what's the difference? Doesn't matter.
Do you feel what do you feel about overall that comment that we see you, we hear from you, we see the tweets. I mean, you do go hard on people as well. You
So
do
what?
keep it real. I'm saying, what does that hinder any type of relationship? Like the guy that could be caught in the middle of, he might be cool with this other business partner, but he's cool with Rick, but there's some damage.
Listen,
what do you feel about that?
I'm worldwide. I can't appease everybody every day. I do a damn good job for my clients. Number one, I do a good job for myself, and I'm true to myself. I work 24/7, 365, and I can't give any more to this sport in this business that I'm giving. So, so people don't like me. I'm not running a popularity contest. I'm not trying to be a politician. You don't need to vote for me.
I've got to say this, your work ethic is something, because you know what you told me, Punch, earlier? He said, I'll get up out of bed, but don't put my face on the screen today, because I'm just going to get out of bed and let's talk boxing.
Hey,
I'm laying in bed. I'm laying in bed, literally. That's just, I'm about business. I get it. Social media is part of boxing business today. I participate in everything: podcasts, Facebook, Twitter. I just started on Instagram. I'm out there. And if people, and if a guy like Floyd Schofield Sr. says, well, a lot of people don't like Rick Glaser and we can't have that stop our business, then so what? I don't care. What do I care?
It happens all the time. It's
let me put it this way to you.
You said
Moonshine.
Yeah.
Here goes. You ready, Moonshine?
Yes, sir.
Doesn't matter what. If I lose an account, I'm still going to eat the same way. My wife's still going to drive a fancy car. We're still going to do it. My lifestyle is excellent. I'm not. That's one thing about losing accounts. I've got enough accounts. I don't have to have any more. If I do, it's because I want to have them, because I want more business, because I'm prideful about my business. It's not about the money. I
Now,
don't
Rick, I
need.
want
What
to
do you
say
feel
this
about
to
the
you.
comment when he said that
Who?
he
Who's
don't
he?
want it? Floyd Schofield
Schofield?
Senior.
Yeah.
When
Okay.
he said on the interview, when he was alluding to, not exact the same words, but I'm paraphrasing,
Yeah.
that it's not good business. It's not good business when you're dealing with somebody that's bringing another brother down in terms of Al Haymon.
I don't care. I don't. If Al Haymon, listen, whenever PBC puts on a good fight, I say they put on a good fight. That was a good fight. That was a great show. Okay, people say, "Oh, it's PBC." Why do you say that? Because I tell the truth. I mean, what part of that don't people understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, tell the truth to this then. What do you think about the current state with the so many belts? You know, we do have the sanctioning bodies. They come
I
over here,
I
and
think
look,
I
Rick.
think.
Before
Yep.
you speak, the sanctioning bodies do come over here and speak to us. I do have another sanctioning body coming in soon to speak to the people. So, what do you
Okay.
think about the people say they got too many belts?
I
And listen to
believe.
this before you.
I
Can I just
I
say this
believe.
though? They
Sure.
said
Sure.
that the franchise belt is one thing, but you gave a champion a belt who never even went in a fucking ring. And this is why fans are mad. You gave Devin Haney a belt and you took
Okay.
it away from a fighter who went in there with the pound for pound guy by giving him a new belt. What do you
Okay.
think about that franchise and how they
I
gave
think
Devin Haney a belt?
I call the franchise belt the French fry belt as Coach um, 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 Williams does on his show. I have no problem with the WBO having the world title belt. I have no problem with the WBC, the WBA, or the IBF. None of them. I have a problem when they come up with interim champions, secondary champions, regular champions, Mayan belts, diamond belts, franchise belts. It's all bullshit. 4 world champions is plenty, and the sport gets devalued at any more than that. Period. End of story. So I don't believe now. I have
But
no
isn't that a
problem.
promoter's dream? To be honest, as a promoter, that's a dream that there's so many other belts and they can make mega fights and get sponsors involved and make
Of
big
course.
fights.
Of course.
So the
Absolutely.
sanctioning body is working in hand with the promoters, really.
Correct, and it shouldn't be that way. And I can't blame the WBO and the IBF because they don't have multiple belts like that. It's the BC and the BA. Those are the biggest victims, right? The biggest cause. I'm sorry, the biggest cause of that problem. It's not the BO and the IBF.
Right, but you also have to understand that with the sanctioning bodies, they have not a reputation, but we got to say they do favor certain promoters. And
Right.
and I feel like the sanctioning body wants the biggest fight for the biggest money. That's just my opinion. And they want the biggest money fight for that champion to hold his belt and keep making bigger fights.
Absolutely, 100%.
It's all about making sure the fighter's a prize fighter and he's a big enough name who's going to pay the 3%. Is it 3%? I don't know how much they pay.
Yeah, 3%. 3%. No, I agree on all that. No question about it.
So
But
now
but
my
the
question comes to
WBA,
today's
the
market.
WBA, the WBC are the biggest culprit. I think Moonshine was going to ask one more question about the Schofield
Yeah,
situation.
go
What
on.
was
Ask
that,
the Schofield thing.
Moonshine?
Where is
Moon.
Moonshine? Punch. He's
Oh,
in the back.
my fault. It was muted. It was muted. It was
He
muted.
wants to. He wants you to ask that question about the Schofield.
Yeah, you said you had one more question about the Schofield. I thought that's what you said.
Damn, I've lost train of thought when I went to
Yeah.
when I changed subject.
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
Just keep in mind. Just keep in mind that I resigned from the Schofields. They didn't get rid of me.
Yeah.
Just keep
That
in
was
mind.
that was the one. It was it they got rid of you or did you
I resigned. I
You
resigned
resigned.
on a Sunday night because the guy doesn't listen. Then
Mm.
he comes out after the fact and says he resigned, that they got rid of me. That's a complete lie.
Right. Now,
Mm.
I want to know the logistics of this thing. You know, this Muhammad Ali Act, which you saw the Muhammad Ali Act, that a promoter cannot be an advisor and manager. Is that correct?
A promoter can be only a promoter. It can't be an advisor or manager. That's correct. In the United States, that's correct.
So a promoter cannot manage the fighter and he cannot advise for the fighter.
No, you can render advice, but you can't take money for your rendering the advice. You're the promoter. You're the promoter, so you can give him advice. You just can't. You can't be attached to his purses as an advisor.
So how come there were so many reports that the ghost Al Haymon was Bob Arum said it way long ago, Oscar De La Hoya said it, that Bob Arum's doing something in the boxing business that they can't prove? What do you think of those allegations? Because they're out there.
No, you mean Al Haymon's doing something in the boxing business?
Sorry, Al Haymon, yeah.
Because
that Bob Arum and Oscar De La Hoya said
he's promoting and advising the same fighters. He's putting up, he's funding the event, he's securing the funds from Showtime and Fox. He's deciding where the fights go, who fights on the show, and how much everybody fights for, and then he's acting as the advisor. He's got a licensed promoter doing the shows, but he's really the promoter. We just hit 2 hours.
All right, bro. Hey,
we might as well keep going
today, Rick.
We might as well keep going. Let's go
Rick,
another half hour.
But Rick, it seems to me you enjoying this just as much as we are here.
Absolutely.
You know?
Look, there's one thing. Look, I think that all right. There's fighters that are happy with Eddie. There's fighters that's been not saying comfortable, but haven't got the right fight. Right, the Demise Andre haven't got the right fight. I don't believe that Eddie Hearn has done wonders with Andre. I think that Top Rank does a great job in building fighters, but as soon as they get to that marquee name, it seems like Mikey had a problem, Oscar and Floyd and Miguel, Cotto.
Hold it.
Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, Ricky Rick.
Hold it. Somebody blew in everybody's ears says you could make a lot more money. You don't need Bob Arum. You got millions in the bank, and we can do this without him. Richard Schaefer blew in Oscar's ear. Al Haymon blew in Floyd's ear. Okay, and the list goes on and on. He builds them up so big that they don't need Bob Arum anymore. He's got millions in the bank. They can promote themselves. That's what happens.
Yeah, but this is why that's why I asked you the question about the TO and the purse bit, that they blew on somebody's ear, because I could say the same thing that Bob blew on Eddie's ear and be like, "Hey, yo, don't." I know your answer, but I'm saying it's not only them.
Whoa. It wasn't Bob, and it wasn't Eddie. It was Todd the Buff, who's the president of Top Rank, going to the Zone. Okay, is what it was. So let's get the facts straight now, Moonshine. Okay. In the meantime, okay, I said it was wrong, but all's fair in love and war. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't agree with it. I thought it was wrong, but all's fair in love and war.
No. What I'm saying is that I was talking about the guys that they became marquee names, and then you said somebody blew in their ear. But I could see in this business of boxing that there is a strategy which, in my opinion, will devalue its own fighters. Some fighters don't know their value, So I think when a fighter doesn't know its value and what could be out there for him, he could stay in the same situation he's in, where he can have actually more.
Okay,
and that's
so
what
let's go to your fact. Okay,
go ahead.
Arum bid $2,350,000. He fought one time last year, and he for that money of $3.5 million that Eddie Hearn offered. Okay, Okay, he could have fought 3 times if he was in tow with Top Rank, because that stupid Triller who bid all that money never put the fight on. They kept postponing and delaying and everything else. So instead of making one fight for that, he could have fought 3 times and made 4 times as much, 4 to 5 times as much money as he did, and he'd probably still be champ because he wouldn't have been overweight because he was weight trained by the time he got to the fight because he had been so inactive. Okay, let's tell it like it is.
Well, I can't say that would have happened because I don't see nobody no champion fighting 3 times a year in Top Rank. So
Top Rank was going to fight him 3 times in 2000 and last year, and he knows it. That was what the game plan was. It's a fact.
Look, we all hear fighters say that they're gonna fight 3 times a
It's
year.
not the fighter. I'm telling you what I was told from 2 executives there in a phone conversation. He was supposed to fight 3 times, and he fucking blew it up. This is right after the purse bid when Eddie won when Triller won the purse bid. He's supposed to fight 3 times, and then he couldn't fight because Triller kept postponing the fucking fight.
Yeah, but all right, but I'm just saying, let's say if Triller never bid, we had another person that bid. That was Eddie Hearn. Now, if Eddie Hearn would have won the bid, now people say they was going to be more professional, right? Let's say they would have fought on that date. Let's say they would have fought in June, right? On that date.
Right.
So he still was going to fight 2 times a year, even if he would have won in June with the zone.
No, because the first fight originally is supposed to be back at last March, buddy.
That's not what Peter Kahn said in the January interview that he had in Florida.
What did he say?
He said that him and Bob was trying to make the deal for June. I believe it was June 26th, June 28th, and and that was in January before the IBF ordered the fight. That it was working on the deal the whole January. They said.
Okay,
and they asked IBF for the 30 days.
So he still would have fought. He could have fought in June. In June, he could have fought in August, and he could have fought in November, December.
You know that was not gonna happen.
They said, listen. They told me they were going to fight him 3 times. ESPN wanted him to fight 3 times. You know,
Rick, do you mind if we can get some questions from the people in the chat? They got questions for you.
Absolutely.
So Hard Time says, ask Rick about Canelo business model of not permanently associating himself with a promoter, the pros and cons of Canelo doing business in that way.
It's a way to get the most amount of money per show, number one, and still maintain his independence. And the negativity is the promoters that he does business with are trying to get him beat with their own fighters. And one of these days he's going to get robbed when it comes down to a close decision. So that's the disadvantage of it.
You think Oscar Valdez should have got stripped?
No. The rule one they were using, one was using VADA rules and one was using WADA rules. Under WADA rules that wasn't illegal. Under VADA rules it was. Yeah. And the WBC was using WADA rules, but they used the VADA as a testing thing. So the rules were wrong.
Right. Now, I want to ask you this, especially coming onto the YouTube. You've been around boxing many decades. Has racism been that bad where people go at each other? Is it because of the social media that YouTube? And I'm going to say this. Hey, listen, I'm going to say this. Listen, Rick, they have invented so many plastic gangsters on social media. The birth of these boxing fans threatening each other over fights, racism, cultures. Is it worse? And is it delusional today, or was it always like that?
No, it's a now thing with the social media.
Do you believe it's a self-victimhood? Is it self-victimhood thing that's going on? Is the blaming
What do you
using the
what
race
is that?
card.
I don't even know what that is. What is that?
Well, bringing when bringing the race car, let's say with Deontay Wilder, you know, also brought up the race card, of why Tyson Fury, you know, he thought that things were going on behind the scenes of the business of boxing is because of his color. He said. So you think that he just couldn't take the loss and he was
Of
blaming
course.
racism?
Come on, please.
No, I'm just asking. I just want to know your
Yeah,
take.
absolutely, absolutely. He can't take the loss. That's why they come up with 249 million excuses why he lost. The costume was overweight. That was bogging him down. The let's see, his legs were sore because of he couldn't bend over. Um, let's see, Mark Breland shouldn't have stopped the fight. He should have went out in a shield. Mark Breland spiked the water, the glove gate. I mean, you want me to continue it? I mean, it's just out of control.
Mm. Yeah, man,
Okay, I got another question.
that was a crucial 19 months, man. That was a crazy 19 months in social media.
I want to get to this question. We got Stephen4722 in the chat. He says, "Ask Rick, is it financially viable to lower the pay-per-view for the big from $80? 1 second. Let this guy go without his chat. From
Because it's a real
$80.
issue.
Was he say, Punch?
He said, "Ask Rick, is it financially viable to lower the pay-per-view for big fights from $80 because it's a real issue with fans?"
I think a pay-per-view should have no more than a 49.95 cap. Should never be over $50. Okay.
So generally, it should be at the $50 mark.
Yep. That's surely enough money.
Do you agree on this? I said that the most lucrative heavyweight fight is still Deontay Wilder versus Anthony Joshua.
They're damaged goods right now, both of them. So unless one of them can regain the title, no.
What you think is the most lucrative worldwide, most lucrative heavyweight fight? I still think it's
Fury versus Joshua.
Oh yeah, because Fury brings a lot more to the table than Deontay Wilder now.
Sure, he does. Now he does.
Yeah.
I disagree. I disagree. I think it's still Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua.
I mean, Puncher's got a point though, Rick. What he's saying is that they can make that fight without titles, and it still be a big pay-per-view fight.
Right. They can, but it's not going to do the live gate that Fury and the live gate. The pay-per-view number will be about equal, and they'll do a much bigger live gate with Fury versus Joshua.
That's the biggest fight.
I think it will still be. I just saw what look at Tyson Fury. Look at his numbers without Deontay Wilder. Yeah, I mean it wasn't great.
Time out. That was before he was before he knocked off Wilder. Come on now.
But what do you think about these fights today, which are? You've seen the boxing business and the models change. You could be a star at home on your computer. And today, there's been a kid who they were calling a nerd who's become a bigger superstar. It's sad at the same time. And they say it helps boxing. Does Jake Paul, is it an embarrassment that he earns way more money than most of the boxers who worked so hard all their life as a kid? What do you think of that? That a YouTuber has been given a platform.
I would definitely call it an embarrassment. No question about that.
You would call it an embarrassment?
Absolutely.
So why is it not helping boxing?
Because they're not becoming boxing fans. They're there to watch him only. They don't give a shit about boxing. It's just an avenue for him to make money. They're not becoming boxing fans. They're Jake Paul fans.
So when Jake Paul's all said and done, those fans are gone.
Right. I mean, could 10% hang around or 8%? Yeah, but there's no mass. It's not going to bring the thing that's going to bring boxing back is better fights, less pay-per-view, better decisions, and the gaming. That be able to wager on the fights on your cell phone. Those are
I,
going to be the big things.
I think better promotion, in my opinion. I think,
Well, that's better fights. The same thing. Same thing.
because I do think that people that's paying pay-per-view, if you look at people's numbers, I think they're paying pay-per-view just to see their their favorite fighter. I think that people was just paying to see Paul. People were just paying to see Gervonta Tan Davis. They ain't care about the Mario Barrios. We can't say that people will pay for the great fights, because when we get the great fights, the numbers ain't coming out. That's just my opinion. I think it's easy for us to say that, oh, we need best fights and then we're gonna pay for the pay-per-view. No, the numbers were of Porter and Crawford, and we was begging Crawford, fight somebody in the top welterweight, fight somebody, and all of a sudden he gets that Sean Porter fight, and it wasn't overwhelming numbers. So what is the fans really asking for?
They're asking for consistency and the quality of the fights. And, okay, they're asking for better decisions, better quality decisions, and they're asking for more quality fights, and on a weekly situation, not a couple times a year. The best have to fight the best, and they got to come up with good decisions. And the judges have to come up with good decisions.
I mean, look, we had, like I mentioned, Porter Crawford, the trilogy with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, where people's going to be talking about that fight from years and years to come. We had Chocolatito Estrada, which I don't think it brought a bunch of subscribers to the zone, but that's a great fight. And the trilogy is going to
I actually disagree with you. I think it opened up new faces to the Latino crowd, a Mexican versus a Panamanian and all that stuff, and or Nicaraguan or whatever. But my point is, it opens up new faces. A fight like that's a quality fight, and people appreciate quality no matter what the size of the fighters are.
Right. No, I'm saying no. For me, it's a good fight. I just don't feel that it complements what the fans been wanting, because I feel like 2022 we had great fights. We had consistency. How many undisputed we had this year? More than we had. We had great undisputed. If people was talking bad about women boxing, we had all the women boxing. We had our favorite women boxer even fighting in the MMA. So I don't understand why the numbers are still poor when we get in these type of fights, or we're just sitting back waiting for Earl Spence and Bud Crawford. Because I put my money up right now. I don't bet on boxing, but I put my money up right now that fight won't go past 300K. And that's the fight that we want to see.
You ask some more questions there.
Well, I got you here, right? Listen, I got. Oh yeah. By the way, we got lots of different people around the world tuning in. We got a guy called. Hey, listen, this is one of my brethren from the other side of the pond. Major Key Boxing says I'll give a big shout out to Rick Glaser. Right. So
Thank you.
We got egg-shaped phone. He says, I feel like, I don't know if you want to answer this, Peter Khan and that Triller situation between him and Kambosos was so fishy that once Kambosos came out of the Triller fight, Peter Khan quit from working around Triller.
I don't know the timing of it. I got to think about it. I don't know. It's something that I can't really answer. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah, you don't know about it.
But it's worth saying. It's worth saying that that whole thing was a little suspicious. Correct.
Right.
What was the worst excuse, Deontay Wilder or George Foreman?
What are you talking about, George Foreman?
After he lost to Muhammad Ali, what was the worst excuse? Deontay Wilder excuses or George Foreman excuses? Which was the worst excuse?
Wilder.
I mean, George Foreman also blamed the water too, and his corner. Remember, he fired his corner.
Yeah, but George Foreman never fucking complained about his dent in his head. He never fired his trainer and tried to make
yes, he did. Yes, he did.
On Mark Breland like Deontay Wilder did. He never blamed the boxing commission. He never blamed everybody like Deontay Wilder had a list, which was really
No,
Like,
Deontay Wilder
I've
had a
never heard
list,
of
but
it.
go
I've
check.
never heard of anything like that.
No,
personally.
Deontay Wilder got a list. I'm not really debating that. I'm saying, but George Foreman had a list too. Remember, he fired his corner because he said if he ever was knocked down, that don't look at the ref. You're supposed to look at my count. He fired the corner because they said that they counted too long, his corner. And he said that the ropes was loose as well. Yo, Judge Foreman had a lot of excuses too, man. Read that New York Times article.
I mean, I don't really think Rick's interested in that one, are you, Rick?
I wasn't in boxing at the time, so it's tough for me to answer. I never talked to George about it. It's tough for me to answer a question like that because I wasn't in boxing at the time.
All right, Rick. All right. Tell me who's getting duped. I mean, their contract sucks in boxing. That you feel sorry for them in boxing. Who's that? Who's that guy that's getting taken advantage of? That's taken for a ride in the sport of boxing. Air them out so they could work with Rick.
No, I don't really know. I'd have to think about it. I think that you know, anybody who fights for Demetrius Salita, period, I feel sorry for. Salita Promotions, I feel sorry for. But I don't know what his contracts were. I don't know what he's paying his fighters. I'm sure he's not paying them too much.
Why Lou DiBella owes you money? You said that he owes you money. Why Lou DiBella owes you money?
I made a fight for him. He didn't pay me on HBO back in 2010. The opponent for Caballero, Jason Litzow. I put him in the fight, and Lou never gave me my 10%.
Did you have a signed contract? Did you have a contract?
It never got that far. He went right around the deal and made the deal behind my back. Then he said I wasn't involved. But I set the people up at the fight, talked him into it, gave Lou the guy's name and number, told him to call him. He's I got the guy's number. I said, okay, fine, call him. And the next thing I know, I got cut out by Lou.
All right. I've got one of our subscribers here today, NL. NL says, Rick, because no one better to answer this question. How do you see boxing in the next 5 years? If you can predict it, NL wants to know,
it depends. It depends. If we make better fights, we do less pay-per-views, we come up with better decisions. With the wagering, be able to bet on the fights on your cell phone. It'll be bigger. It'll be boom times. But if they come up with phony decisions, they put on bullshit pay fights on pay-per-view. The best aren't fighting the best. We're fucked.
Did you see the fight today?
Of course, I saw the fight.
What do you feel about that interview with the ref?
Which Eddie Claudio?
I forgot his name. In the first
fight. It's a knockdown.
Yeah. What do you feel about that interview?
I didn't see it. I kept switching back. After the fight was over, I went right to the NFL game, and then before the other fight, I went back to the boxing.
Oh, you had to see that because I'm thinking they're gonna start a new thing. Or now they're gonna interview refs. I'm like, oh yeah, that's good. But then when they was showing the replay. And he said, because the referee didn't call the knockdown, but then the replay shows that he did land it, and he went down because of a shot. And they showed it like Jim Gray told the producer keep playing the replay, and the referee keeps on saying, "Nah, I don't see a shot," when everybody else is seeing the shot even in slow motion. I think that you got to go see that.
We got a lot of questions coming in from around the world here, mate. We got Savoy says, did Mike get ripped off, Rick, by Don King? Now, you missed the show, Savoy, earlier. He answered those questions about Don King, and I'll make it short. Out of $1 billion, was it $1 billion, Rick? Out of $1 billion,
yep.
They did a court case. It went to court. There was 14 million missing out of a whole $1 billion of income that had been generated through Mike Tyson and Don King. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that answers your question there. Hard Time says, ask Rick about these possible boxing MMA crossover fights. We got Fury talking about fighting a #1 heavyweight in UFC, a champion called Francis Ngannou. What do you think about these crossover fights that they're doing in boxing to generate that kind of
think
money.
I think they're big money makers, but it's not good for the sport of boxing, and it's not good for MMA.
Right. Steven says, ask Rick, do we need more judges after we see some of the scorecards?
I've said for a long time we need 5 judges. I've
He's
said it
saying,
for a
do we
long
need 5 judges?
Yeah, I believe we do. Yep, they have a better shot at getting it right with 5 judges. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just reading some messages. I want to give you a good one.
Okay.
I mean, you really, sorry to say, mate, you really answer everything. And you are very open in an open book. Like, this is the first time we've ever spoke to you, Rick, over here. And you seem like a very open book, ready to answer anybody's question for anything to do with boxing.
I'll tell you what an open book I am.
Go on.
You want to know what an open book I am?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Before I met my wife, I met this other woman, and she said to me about, what do you like to do? I don't like to really do too much, my business mostly, and blah, blah, blah. And she says, would you like to go to Canada? I said, I can't go to Canada. I'm barred from the country. I'm a convicted felon. She says, I'm glad you were so free to tell me that. Why would you save that for later on? I says, I don't want to have the disappointment telling you I can't take you to Canada for the weekend.
And Rick, I don't want to touch on this, but I'm a very educated man. When I talk to a person, I do my homework. Rick, it seems like you've been through things in life that some people have never been through. Is it, and it seems like you're open book now that we're speaking. They said you were going to die once and you came back from death. Is that correct?
Yep. I twice actually. I had pneumonia, I had 8% breathing, I had a pulmonary infection in my lung at 8% breathing. They didn't think I was coming back. And I survived that. Then I got cancer and I was on my deathbed. I took chemo, ended up taking chemo for 32 months, but I was on my deathbed for 65 days, actually 75, but on my deathbed part for 65. And then to get out of the hospital to go back home so they could, start the chemo treatments, 3 days every 21 days. They took 10 days. They pumped me up with steroids and protein to be able to get myself home without sitting in a wheelchair on a slab or anything like that. So I walked out of the thing and they thought I was going out on a slab. I disappointed a lot of people by living.
Oh man, tell me about it. I disappointed a couple people because they wanted me dead after my car accident. We're in the same boat.
Yep.
So when you do something right, is this a truth, Rick? When you do something right, or you're very straightforward, and they say maybe sometimes being too honest is no good. Is it true you become the enemy? And when people actually hate on you, isn't that when you're doing something right in this world?
Well, I once said about a guy said to me, a great line was, a guy said to me, the guy hates you. I said, well, at least I know I'm doing something right. So there you go. I think that answers that rap. Doesn't that answer that question pretty appropriately?
I don't know what to say. You answer everything, bro. Hey, Rick, you are a great fella, mate. Great chat. Like we say, a jolly old great chat. And I will say this, though. People have been asking so many questions about this man. This man made some of the greatest fights in the world. And you worked alongside Don King. And anyone who knows this man more than anyone, it'll be you. How come Don King is not the powerhouse of boxing today? He was one of the most powerful men and figures.
That's a great question. He didn't have the infrastructure, the staff like Top Rank did. Number one, he micromanaged his staff too much. Number two, he didn't have the connections anymore. His people that he had the relationships with retired from their jobs, with the network. So he didn't have the connections with the networks, and that he didn't change with the times. That's all. That's probably, he didn't change with the times. That's, you got to keep evolving. I keep evolving. I keep reinventing myself.
But you know, at the end of the day, what is Don King's position in 2022? You still work with him, right?
No, we're friends, but I don't work with him professionally anymore. Um, you know, we're friends. We talk on the phone 3, 4 times a week. Sometimes 3, 4 times a day. If there's a problem, I'll help him out. But I'm not working with him officially anymore. In other words, where he was a client of mine, he's no longer. But if he needs help, I'll help him out. He knows that.
I mean, this they said this is a games of sharks. There may be young fighters looking on. What could you say the snakes in this industry? So if young fighters know not to be snaked by them, or they will know who's approaching them.
What's the question?
Do you know any snakes in boxing? The snakks in boxing, would you?
Yeah, of course there's snakes in boxing. That's been for over 120 years.
Who
There's snakes in boxing. Of course there are.
who's the snakes in boxing to protect these young fighters that's walking into this game?
Oh, Cameron Duncan's a snake. There's a whole bunch of them. But
Also, you saying
so
Boots is in trouble?
what's that?
Jerome Boots Ennis, he's with Cameron Duncan.
He's already been in trouble with the. They already lost a lawsuit to Chris Mittendorf. They had to settle out of
Mhm.
court.
Mhm. Yeah, I always keep on telling people because they like to talk about Boots and they always mention Boots and Al, and I'm like, he's not with Al Haymon, he's with Cameron Duncan.
Right. He's nothing to do with Al Haymon. Not
Hey,
now,
Rick,
anyway.
I got to tell you,
Yeah.
you've asked for this. You said bring on the questions, and people are still sending questions. It's early hours in the morning. People through
I'll tell you what.
Europe are
I'll
coming
tell you
in.
what. You got great fans. Another 30 minutes. We'll make it 3 hours. Come on,
Are you up for
bring
a
them
punch?
on.
Hey, we're gonna do this, Rick. So here's a
Did,
question
did Rick
from.
ever make money from Tyson? And has he worked with an Al Haymon advised fighter? Answer is I did make money with Tyson. I supplied sparring partners uh, for Don King Productions when they were promoting Mike Tyson back in 95, 96, and 97. So yes, I did. And the next question is something to do with Al Haymon. Did I ever have a fighter? I worked with one fighter that was with Al Haymon. Yes.
What about Hard Times? Look what Hard Times wants to ask you, Rick.
I can't read it. It's
Well, you
real
just read
blurry.
the other one.
Ask Rick about the increase in rematch clauses in boxing. Good or bad for boxing?
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah, rematch clauses are good because because you've already got it 9 out of 10 times. It's an established fight. That's why they wanted to do it over again. Where both fighters thought they could have won, and they want to do it over again. The rematch doesn't work if one of the fighters says no, anyways, because it was a blowout. You don't want to go back there again. So yeah, they're good. They're good for boxing. They're not bad.
Who is Sam Watson?
That's Al Haymon's #1 lackey.
I told you that earlier, Punch. I met Sam Watson in Vegas. He runs around for Al Haymon everywhere.
All right.
No,
Right.
I'm just
Al
saying so the
Haymon's
fans,
#1 lackey.
so the fans could know, because of course you have a lot of content and people always you talk about Al, you talk about others, so people can understand. Have you
Look, I'm gonna
have you
say
ever met
this right
Al
now,
Haymon?
Rick. I'm gonna
Of
say
course, I
something.
met. Yes, I met Al Haymon. I dealt with him in 2001 and 2002, and I had enough after the first deal.
All right, Rick. I'm gonna say something.
Oh,
You've
come
got.
Sure.
on.
I'm gonna say something. You're the one of the first voices who speak in boxing without holding back. You're right. You're very
Yep.
open. You're an open book. Why the fuck haven't you got a podcast? And why ain't we getting you on a podcast? It should be. This should be the Rick show.
Because it's easier to talk to people when they're asking you the questions than you starting the content yourself. That's why.
Are you gonna do a podcast in the future or not?
My wife's attempted to talk me into it. So far, she wants to do it with me. The two of us do it together. Have you ever seen a picture of my wife?
I haven't. I really haven't.
My
But
wife's
I can find her on good. I can find
my
her on
my wife
Google.
my wife is gorgeous, and I'm not kidding you.
Okay. Okay.
Moonshine. You ever see a picture of my wife?
Yeah. Of course. God bless your wife.
And
Yeah,
God
she's
bless you.
gorgeous. My wife's gorgeous. A rap, no
Yeah.
question about it. I mean,
That's
that's not me
amazing.
talking. That's everybody saying it.
Yeah, no,
You know
that's
what I mean?
great, man. That's amazing.
Everybody says I outkick my coverage.
So let's get you onto once a month on Rapstar every month. I'm not going to disturb you too much. I'm busy. I know you're busy, right? But we're going to get you every month. But we're not going to
I
make it long.
I
We're
I
going to
I,
do
I,
a 1 hour show. How does that sound?
nah, 2 hours is better. I can't. The introduction is 15 minutes.
And the next time you come on, I'm going to send a link to everyone to come here personally and ask you a question.
Absolutely, I got no problem. But listen, and this thing here, do me a favor,
Mhm.
and my phone number. Um, send the link here to my phone number to my cell phone.
Yes.
So then I'll put it up on social media on Facebook, and I'll put it up on Twitter.
So we're going to get the Rick Glazer, Rapstar, Explicit, Uncut,
Experience.
Punch Drunk Boxing, and everybody else who wants to ask any question about boxing, talk about boxing. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't think you're into boxing for money. I just think you're a passionate man in the sport.
Yeah, I could have done a lot of things in my life. You
You
know,
seem
I
like to have a
mean,
lot of passion for this sport. Is that
yeah,
correct?
I do. I could have done a lot of things. You know, I was an back in the day. I was an expert on exotic wristwatches. You know, like Patek Philippe's and Audemars Piguet and Vacheron and Rolex, all that stuff. And I just I just outgrew it. You know,
Well,
and
when are we going to get you? Well, I shouldn't be saying this. You both of them from fucking New York. When am I going to get you to my brethren's channel, Punch Drunk Boxing? He does a karaoke every Thursday. Listen to this one, Rick. Rick, you got to sing the right song, or you better be able to sing for him to let you in. So it's a karaoke Thursday. People come in there, they sing songs, they rap to get in to talk. You know, I think it'd be good for you to come on there.
something tells me it's not, but that's all right.
It's fucking amazing, mate. Listen.
Nah, that's my shot. On Fridays, I call it Happy Hour Thursday, Punch Drunk Boxing. So when somebody get on the pen, they got to sing a short tune, or just a short tune, a hook, something, just for the feel. And you got to be drinking something. What's your favorite drink?
Me, I just a regular iced tea. I don't drink any
No
alcohol.
alcohol. You like Floyd Mayweather?
No, I don't drink nothing.
You know what I at this point of Bob Arum, I assume that he got all the money. He's made money. Does he use boxing like a chessboard? Like this is just a hobby at this point. Like
Who Bob? Bob?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, he's as serious as a heart attack.
Okay.
No, he's not like that. The guy wants to know what fighters are we working with. Me and Freeway Rick Ross. I could see that. We've got 6 fighters that we're working with. No big names yet, but a couple of them have potential to be real big names, but they're not big names. We're looking for sign some big names next.
Hey,
So
ladies
we're
and
just
gentlemen, I'd
we
just
just
like to
started.
say this, ladies and gentlemen, smash that like button. Make sure you jab that like button or punch that like button. We've got the one and only Rick in the building. Hey, look, I'm going to say this. NL's got a question for you. Rick, what were your top 3 best fight ever made from the 80s to now?
You mean that I made him,
No,
or
yeah. What is he saying? Whatever the question is in front of you.
I made all the Paul Spadafora fights. I made Calzaghe and Roy Jones. All this Paul Spadafora fights, just a lot of them. I made the first Roberto Duran fight with Pazanza. The rematch was automatic, so that was already a made fight. But I made the first fight that just a whole bunch of fights over the years.
Do you still keep in touch with Paul Spandafora?
Yeah, he calls me occasionally to say hello. Yep.
I hope he's doing well.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's holding his own.
Okay. I said that Devin Haney will be the next Paul Spandafora. People ain't like what I said. You agree?
They're totally two different fighters. Bill Haney thinks his kid could have whipped Spatafore, and I said, Bill, please stop already, will you? What are you dreaming? Jesus, the guy
What?
beat
Somebody
four.
wants to know.
The guy beat 4 #1 contenders. Please.
Yeah, Rick is free smoke, open platform. So somebody wants to know: would you come on the platform if Leonard Ellaby came through to Rapstar and wanted to be on the platform with you?
Absolutely,
You,
but it
you
ain't
heard
gonna
this?
happen.
You heard this? Rick is ready for free smoke for anybody. If it comes to boxing, he said he's the man. He's got the questions and he knows the answers. So here we go.
Do people don't want to? Do you think that he won't be on the panel with you because you expose him, or?
Of course, listen, he ain't out talking me. Come on, please. What do you think, Moonshine?
I bet his nose will grow bigger than yours.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Nah. I mean, Leonard Ellaby, he blocked me from Twitter, so I think I'm in a good club.
So did a lot of people block you from Twitter. Andre Wall too.
Yeah, but that was I don't know why he blocked me from Twitter. Man, I was just keeping it real. I don't even know why he blocked me because I said that he analyzed Josh Taylor, saying that he's weak to that his weakness is going to the body. And I said, you seen the Regis Progress fight? I mean, he goes to the body. That's not a weakness of Josh Taylor. And just because of that comment, he got blocked, man. It's a lot of emotional people in the sport of boxing, Rick. What you think?
For sure. 100%.
What you think about Teofimo Lopez Sr.? And after the fight, what do you feel? What do you feel about that? A lot of people saying that Teofimo Lopez should fire his father. What do you feel about that?
Well, that's very harsh. I think they need to bring somebody else in to work with the father. I will tell you that. No question about that in my mind.
So somebody said, Rick, if you were a younger guy and you were a fighter, what promotion and how would you go about it?
He'll go with me with the promotions.
You mean if I was a fighter?
Yeah. What should a fighter? Where would you go? They want to know.
Well, I would go to Top Rank. They make the most amount of champions. They've made 66 champions since January of 2004. They made 66 champs in that period of time. I think it's a no-brainer.
Look at that, people. He says that Top Rank promotions. So there's another question for you. A lot of fans want to know. Who's the strongest man in boxing today? When we say strongest, the man who brings the biggest revenue, who's got the TV rights, who's the biggest company in boxing when it comes to promoters?
Well, I think that you'd have to say by success,
Bob
Arum and Eddie Hearn by success.
Right.
Absolutely. 100%.
So Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn are the two biggest players as far as promoters.
Yep.
In boxing today.
Yeah, I would say so.
Wow. I mean, yeah. I mean, Don King, he hasn't been who he has in the last 20 years.
That was then, this is now. Yep.
Yeah. You think Don King lost his own business?
No. He's just that he didn't have the right employees. It's his fault. He didn't have the right employees, and you ended up with a lot of shit, So,
have you ever had to have an argument? No, I'm going to keep it real. I love boxing. I love boxers. But Rick, some of them are not easy to work with. Have you ever come to these kind of things where you and a boxer just didn't see eye to eye, or you've had
I just had the deal with the Schofields, and I cut them loose.
What about Roberto Duran?
No, there's never any issue with Roberto Duran. He was great to work with. He was so much fun. Oh my God, he he wasn't even tough when it came to the money. He was always fair. He knew we had to make a living, the promoter and I, and he was always very fair. So there's no complaints there, zero.
So you've had a great working relationships with most boxers. They're not that difficult to work with.
No, some of them are. Some of them are impossible. They're stubborn. They're hard-headed. So that's not necessarily true. That's some of them, but the majority have been a pleasure to work with.
Is there a question they say you can get blackballed in boxing?
Absolutely.
How do you get blackballed?
It depends if the fighter or it's a person in the business. It depends on who it is.
Is Demetrius Andre blackballed?
No.
Look at that. He answers questions straight away.
I want to know. I mean, he's in a position to get a lot of fights. I mean, and he's not getting them. Now he can't even get Jaime Munguia.
Yeah, he's not commercially viable. Well, he's gonna have what's his name, Genobek Akaluli there. He'll get a beat down.
Yeah, I don't want that fight either. I don't want that fight.
Of course you don't.
Now my questions are these questions. Who's the biggest iconic as a boxer? Who's the iconic man who represented our sport in boxing the most?
Well, I would say Sugar Ray Robinson and Muhammad Ali. I would say Mike Tyson's a third place. I think Joe Louis is in fourth in that area.
Right. Somebody wants to know, they want to go back what we were talking now. That if that's what we're saying, then what Terence Crawford is doing with Bob Arum, would he be blackballed in boxing by playing this kind of move?
No, he's not being blackballed. It's just nobody can pay those purses. So he's going to be on the sidelines because he believes he's worth more than he is.
Do you feel that women boxing will be better if the ladies would show more of their skin?
No, I think ladies boxing would be better if they did 3-minute rounds instead of 2.
Okay. Because a lot of people may feel that Ebony Bridges is getting she could fight, but maybe she's getting the type of marketing and advertising pushes because of her titties.
I'd hate to believe that'd be the reason.
I'm just saying, this is raw right here. We in Rap Star Boxing Knowledge.
Yeah, we're very. Hey, listen, do you know when you're not here? Sometimes we have free smoke war where people want to know facts. They start to argue. They really want to express their, stuff in the chat. People will come at each other in the chat. This is a very open platform, Rick, like an open book.
What kind of car does Don King drive? He's got a Bentley and a Rolls Royce that I know of recently. He's got a convertible Bentley and he's got a 4-door. Was it a 4? Oh, no, he's got the. You know what? What are they? Are they both Rolls Royces? Well, one's a convertible, one's the big 4-door. So I think they're both Rolls Royces, actually.
Excellent. What's your 3 best fighters today in this current 2022? What fighters you think bring value?
Oh, come on, Rap. You giving lollipop questions, man.
Well, I'm not asking because people want to know now, Rick. Because Rick now
what was it? Wait, hold it. Moonshine. Let me ask the question. What was the question?
What 3 current fighters in 2022 are the 3 fighters that you would say are the 3 your favorite fighters?
Terence Crawford.
Look at that.
Tyson Fury.
Top Rank Products.
No.
Go. Who's the next?
I'd say Canelo. Canelo would be the third. He's not a top-ranked product.
I know.
And by the way, Terence Crawford's not a top-ranked.
Not now.
I've got to ask you this now, Rick. This is we're still going because it's your fault. We're still going now. Devin Haney is a big topic on the YouTube because some people say in the history they've watered down the WBC belt. They gave a kid a belt on the email. He is taking slanderism in boxing when it comes to social media and out there, saying that he's a champion by computer. He never fought anybody. Is that bad for a fighter the way that he got a belt?
What's the question?
The question is, Devin Haney, right, got a belt without fighting for it. He got it because of being in position through the pandemic and the COVID again. He got his belt, right? He petitioned for it.
I think it was a very unique situation. It should never happen again.
See, it's not good for fighters to get a belt like that.
Right. I said
Because
it was a very unique
it takes away.
situation.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said it was a very unique situation and it should never happen again.
Yeah, because it's not good for how the
No.
fighter's legacy because now they always downplay Devin Haney because of that belt.
Correct.
Not a great situation. Go on, Punch. Where you at?
I'm right here. I mean,
Come on,
but
this is pre-smoke, bro. This man answered.
hey, man, I'm talking
question.
about Teddy's. You asked about who's your favorite fighter. Shit, come on, man.
Yeah, ask him,
Ain't
bro.
up here. This is 3 o'clock. We in 4 o'clock in the morning, New York City. We don't want to ask about favorite boxer. Huh?
Hey,
We want to
boxing.
ask if the ladies need to show some more. They got to be sex symbols, and maybe this is the reason why women boxing is not where it's at, or maybe things of that nature.
I got a question from Ryan.
If Bud Crawford can't sell because he can't talk or things of that nature, we understand that.
So I got a question from Ryan. I don't know where Ryan Oriku is from. He says, Rick, what kind of fight did you nearly make, but it came out your hands, but you could have nearly made it or nearly been involved in it?
That didn't happen.
Yeah, that didn't happen, but you could have done it. It was nearly your way.
I think Paul Spadafora and Floyd Mayweather definitely.
Right.
That could have been a good fight once. I heard good sparring stories.
Yep.
How was the
Paul
sparring?
Spadafora is the most underrated fighter, really, though, because
he is.
Am I right, Rick?
Yep, he is. And I'll tell you who's underrated in your country, and I think he's the greatest super middleweight of all time, Joe Calzaghe.
Thank you. Rick knows his boxing, bro. Rick knows his boxing. Joe Calzaghe is most underrated champion. Yeah, coming out of Wells. Rick knows his boxing, mate. Hey, Rick, another thing then. Who's the most underrated fighter now?
You mean presently?
Yeah, who's the most underrated? Come on, we talk boxing, bro. We talk about everyone here. What about Jared Boot Ennis? What about Conor Benn? What do you think about my boy from London?
I think he's improving drastically every fight, and I think he's getting better and better. And if Eddie takes his time with him, he's going to have an attraction, and he could possibly have a world champ.
Now, somebody wants to know, egg-shaped form, who beats in your eyes the pound-for-pound champion, the cash cow, the Mr. Payday?
Nobody.
Canelo Alvarez.
Nobody right now.
What are you talking about?
Nobody beats him right now.
Wow. Rick, I'm going to ask you the question again. Okay. Who beats Canelo Alvarez at 168? Listen to the question. And 175 as well.
You mean right now? The fighters fighting right now?
At Beterbiev, Dimitri Bivol.
No.
David Benavidez.
None of them. None of them.
Jamal Charlo.
None of them.
Hey, listen, you heard it right here. Nobody beats Canelo Alvarez now.
Not currently. I'm not saying he's not going to lose with his father time or eventually, but not now. Nobody beats him. No.
So is he the Floyd Money Mayweather of today's era?
Yep. Well, it's a little different, but yes, basically.
Did Canelo Alvarez, there's always these fans, right? They want to hate on fighters as well. There's a big saying that did Canelo Alvarez duck any fighter in your eyes?
What's the question?
Did Canelo Alvarez avoid any fighter at the moment that you think?
Nah.
Come on, say it like it. Like say what they say. Rap. Did
Say it.
Canelo Alvarez duck black fighters?
No. No. He goes by who he goes by what who pays him the most, where he can make the most amount of money. That's not true. Not at all. Not at all. He'll fight Charlo. Have him pay him $40 million to fight Charlo. He'll fight Charlo.
What do you feel
Okay.
about when they say that American boxing, it's, what's the word? Come on, help me out. They say American boxing.
It's soft.
They say like American boxing is soft and it's not growing yet. The successful fighters that is not American, like Tyson Fury, Triple G, Manny Pacquiao, guys like that, they train in America. They get trainers from America. So do you think that people people are contradicting themselves when they say that, that America don't have, it's not what it is, it's not what it is, but yet their fighters are training out here and getting trainers from America?
America's got the best trainers. That's a fact. We don't have the best fighters, but we do have the best trainers as a general rule.
I mean, we build champions like Tyson Fury, of course, he beat Klitschko, but Sugar Hill Gang. I mean, I said Sugar Hill Gang. Sugar Hill, he's the trainer. He's the trainer of Tyson Fury. Right. Freddie Roach, look at Mark Magsayo. He just beat Gary Russell Jr. Freddie Roach is his trainer, and he's from the Philippines. So it's one thing, a lot of guys from across the pond or from other countries, they get credit, and it takes the shine out of America. But if you really look at who's helping them, it's an American trainer. Is an American is it's like we say, is an American trainer, is American facility. So I think we still, Rap Star, listening, we still on top. What do you feel about that, Rick? Are we still on top?
No, you're not.
No, I don't think so.
Come on, Rick.
I don't think so.
Come on, Rick. See, all right. And you know what? I'm going to tell my American trainers, don't train nobody but Americans. Let me see how far they're going to go.
What? The next question is over here, Charlo and Castano. It's a dead even fight the first time. It's going to be razor thin. One little a slip up between the two fighters might make the difference in the fight. Giving away, getting a point deducted or a knockdown or something, and win a round that was misjudged. It's such a close thing. Who knows who's going to win? It's going to be pretty much the same fight the second time.
Yeah. Hey, what happened to the fight today? I fell asleep. I had to do this interview with you.
Gary Russell lost.
What happened with Gary
Russell lost. Gary Russell lost. Yeah, majority decision.
Did you watch it? Yeah.
Yep.
And so Gary lost his title after all those years.
Yep.
Fucking hell! Now, how does he? Well, he'd be back in position because he was a champion for a belt, wasn't
he? Yep. Who knows what's going to happen? He fought with a hurt shoulder. His legs are shot. He just didn't look good at all.
Right. Yeah. You saw his. I'm going to watch it later. You saw him like he was with a hurt shoulder. What you said, he had an injury.
Yeah.
That's why he let everybody know that he might not be able to perform at his best.
Well, some guy says sucks out here. What sucks?
Or maybe something we were talking about in boxing. He's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's not asking for any smoke. He actually appreciates you, and he's been here for a long time, giving great comments and actually giving you a big shout.
Thank you.
Yeah, but so I got to be honest with you. It seems to me that if today I was a boxer, yeah, and let's say I know a boxer. How would I get into the business if I did have some money? Now, I know the boxer, he's good. How would I approach myself in order? Who would I need? Like, say if I had a boxer, what kind of money would I need?
Dirty people coming to sport of boxing to clean their money up.
Who said that?
It's a question. I'm
No,
sorry.
I ain't
sorry.
hey, listen, I ain't got no dirty money. I'm asking a normal question.
It's you got to go down to your local gym. You got to meet trainers and stuff like that. They have
No, say if
fighters.
I've got a fighter, right? He's a
You
good
got to
fighter.
you got to go to a promoter. You got to go to a promoter and sign them up. That's all.
But
Start
you're
the
the man
ball
who can
rolling.
get me to the promoter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But that's what I want to hear. That's why I asked you the question, Rick.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's me. That's me.
So is boxing a sport where it's easy to wash dirty money? You feel?
I have no idea. You're asking me something that people talk about. I don't know anything about it. It's not my thing. So I don't know.
Okay.
Well, listen, guys, it's coming. We got 30, 40 seconds to go. I want to end it this way. If anybody wants to follow me on Twitter, there's many fake Rick Glaser accounts on there, but the real one is at Real Rick Glaser 1, the numeral 1, at Real Rick Glaser 1. I have to make sure you got the right amount of the right account. I have 4,100 and some odd followers, and I think like 125 people I'm following. So you know what account it is. That's the right account.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay.
Now, before you run off, we got a few more people who've come on. Now, you
Oh.
asked for it. What do you think of some of these early stoppages that you've seen in boxing? Because you've been in boxing, there's a lot of these early stoppages. Do you agree?
Yeah, but I'd rather have a fight stop too early than too late.
Ask Rick who he thinks wins against the rematch versus Anthony Joshua versus Alexander Usyk.
I believe Usyk will carry the fight again because I don't know if Joshua's going to come up with a new trainer or not. They said they were to work with Rob McCracken, but I haven't heard anything that he is, and I don't think he's going to be able to do anything differently. I don't think he's capable of doing anything differently.
I hear you, Rick. And Rick, I'm going to say this. Everybody, it's been a great experience talking to Rick himself. You heard it from the man who's in the business of boxing. And I'm sure that we'll be able to work it out, Rick, behind the scenes to get you back maybe for next month in some time at the end of February or March. And we're going to do a free smoke. Any question, explicit, right here on Rapstar. How you feel about that, Rick?
No problem. I enjoyed myself. It was a pleasure coming on with not only you, Rap, but also with the Moonshine, my man Moonshine. It's a pleasure, and I had a good time. 2.5 hours. You can't beat that, right?
Yeah, some people are giving you a shout out. Andrew Tucker Weld, my friend from the other side of the world. He says, give Rick Glaser much respect and, general. You're a general.
It's a great channel, too.
Thank you.
Channel. And, Andrew Tucker Weld, everybody go support him. Hey, listen, I'll tell you what, Rick, we got a lot more because next time it's going to, I've got to get ready for you. You were like an AK-47 here today, bro. And you had an answer for everything we wanted to know so far. And I feel like everything everybody else wanted to know. So thanks for your time. And we really appreciate you.
Listen, I was put on this earth for a good reason, and I tend to that reason 24/7, 365, and that's
you got
just
a lot
me.
of fans here today. Tyco TV, you got a lot of fans here today. They just said we followed you on Twitter.
Thank you.
And Rick, I'll be catching you up. I'll be catching you up.
Have a great Sunday, everybody. Moonshine, you Rap, and all everybody listening around the world, all boxing enthusiasts. Enjoy your Sunday, and let's make the world happen, and let's all do our little fair share to make the world a better place.
You a straight shooter, Rick. Rick, I'm going to contact you behind the scenes, and hey, thanks for having you again.
Yeah, give me a call. I'm waiting for your call now, actually. So give me a call, okay?
Yeah, I'll call you soon. Let me have a quick breakfast. You got 15, 20 minutes?
Yep.
All right, we'll make it happen. Hey, Rick, Mr. Moonshine as well. I hope to see you on Mr. Moonshine soon. It's going to be big. It's going to be epic. And I hope to see you there on a Thursday karaoke day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
God bless.
Hey, Punch, it's been a great show, mate. I'll tell you what, we're going to have to do this again with Rick Glaser, one of the realists in the game. I never thought I'd be speaking to an open book of boxing, to what I've learned today. And you know what? Great show for everybody to educate. But yeah, Punch, great having you on, bro.
Thank you, bruv. Great show, great interview once again. And great job giving back to the boxing community, giving content to the boxing community, my brother. You keep on doing a great job, Mr. Rap Star. Boxing knowledge.
We had a great show, but you know what? It's not going to be easy to interview him next time, because you got to get ready now to ask him questions, or get. Rick also answered a lot. He never held back. Do you know what I appreciate about his interview? He never held back. Gave it to you straightforward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He answered a
Great
question,
shooter, mate. Hey, listen, just like you, Rap Star Boxing Knowledge. Thanks for listening to Rap, for Punch Drunk Boxing, and the one and only Rick Glaser, the man who knows his sport. I'm out of it. Peace.